Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Strange Frequencies Radio with your hosts, Jason Corbis and Bobby Nelson. I am your humble announcer, Matthew McGuire. Tonight's guest, Monica Crimmins, the anesthetic witch, and exorcist and demonologist, Archbishop James Long. And now, let's tune in to the frequency.
If you don't believe in ghosts, we'll show you something that could change your mind.
Was it a person or an animal?
I can't tell. All I know is when Central Lake came on and I just happened to glance and see this thing running across the yard.
It's the presence of something downright frightening.
What these things do is they never eat, they never sleep, and they never rest. And they continuously torment the person that they're around.
Wolfman is some type of a creature, possibly extraterrestrial.
They're dressed in black suits, black ties, black glasses, the whole 9 yards.
If you don't believe in ghosts, we'll show you something that could change your mind.
You'll hear the terrifying tales of ordinary people who claim they are living with ghosts. I mean that they've been abducted, probed, and manipulated by aliens.
I am a vampire. I do consume human blood.
Then we're going to talk about werewolves.
I believe. Do you believe?
Hey everybody, and welcome to Strange Frequencies. This is Jason Corbis. We're sitting alongside here, Bobby Nelson and Matt McGuire. Say hello, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
All right, so let's see. Over the weekend here, we had Thanksgiving. Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving?
I had a great Thanksgiving.
It was excellent.
Went bowling.
You went bowling?
I go bowling every year.
It's a tradition?
That's a tradition.
Most people have turkey on Thanksgiving.
Well, we had turkey first, then we went bowling. What'd you do, Matt? See how I passed that one off there? It's not a whole lot of fun talking about bowling.
Well, let me see if I can bring it up a notch. I went to visit my grandma who's in a nursing home.
Oh.
Yeah, that was fun.
Okay, what'd you do, Jason?
I just ate. I just got fatter. I was 300 pounds before the day, and now I'm 310.
All right.
I ate beef loin. I ate mashed potatoes. I ate gravy.
You ate beef instead of turkey?
I ate beef instead of turkey.
That's un-American.
We have our own family traditions.
That's a horrible tradition.
On Christmas, we have lasagna.
Really?
That's the God's truth.
So how long has your family been communists?
We're pinko as well.
Are you guys Polish?
No, we're not Polish. We're half German and...
Germans don't eat beef sirloin.
Nobody does except for my family.
And you eat lasagna on Christmas.
On Christmas.
You guys are un-American.
We're just weird.
Well, what is the traditional Christmas?
Ham is Christmas.
I thought it was turkey.
Christmas ham.
Christmas ham. Yeah, he's right. Christmas ham. Sometimes it could be, like Christmas roast beef. Christmas goat.
Now, you do realize, Bobby, that on today's show we're going to have Archbishop James Long on. If you start, confusing ham and turkey for Christmas, we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Why?
The clergy gets upset when you mislabel meats. I have no idea.
That's funny.
No, but just so people know, tonight's show we're gonna have a couple people on. We're gonna have the empathic medium, the anesthetic witch Monica Crimmins, and we're going to have Archbishop James Long. He's the presiding Archbishop of the United States Old Catholic Church. So we'll have him on to talk about demonology and exorcisms and all that. But let's go back to our last show a little bit. Last show we had Robin from My Ghost Network, and we just basically talked about, I guess, the paranormal community and Paravision in general.
I love that woman.
We talked about Paravision.
We love you, Robin. We're just letting you know. We all three collectively love you.
It's coming from all angles here, this love.
Well, you've held up to your promise that you promised her last week that you'd become a more active member, or she was going to kick us off.
I've become a very active member. I've been posting on the forums. I've been commenting on my friends' pages, which is something I've never done before. So yeah, I think I kept it to my word. I want to know how long I have to keep my word before I am allowed to.
Can you quit again?
Because I'm a quitter.
Yeah.
I like to get involved in things and quit. I don't finish where I start.
Except the dinner plate. But
obviously we're all
Thanksgiving
like that.
beef tips.
That's right. Thanksgiving beef tips. It's beef loin.
Whatever.
Okay, it's the inside of the thigh of a cow, I guess. I don't know.
Really?
But it was good.
I don't really think that's where the loin comes from.
What is the loin?
I thought the loin was off the side, like right below the back. Really?
The inner thigh, right? Yeah.
Why do they say
our
stuff
engineer is saying it's right around the naughty bits?
Hi, Jason. His name's Jason too.
Jason, we have too many Jasons.
We're going to start calling him Egon.
Egon.
Hey, Egon.
Yeah, that's good. Engineer Egon.
Ray. Egon. 2 in the box. Ready to go. We be fast and they be slow.
And that's why people take us seriously, because we're not afraid to bust out the Ghostbuster references. Luckily enough, we don't actually do that in investigations.
But the news does do that for us.
Yes.
It doesn't matter how many times we all say we don't want to be referred to as Ghostbusters. It's the first thing people talk about, so we might as well just start embracing it.
What people may not know is that Phase 3 Paranormal, or Paranormal Group, was contacted to be on a news program. Talk a little bit about what we do. Unfortunately, some of us weren't able to all be there, but the two gentlemen right to my right and left
I'm
here,
one of those gentlemen.
The other one.
Bob and Jason were able to represent our team, and they told the reporter, please, don't make references as Ghostbusters, because
what happened is Joe Rignowski name drop.
And I want to say Joe was very friendly. I don't even have anything personally against him. He was very friendly.
I guess
he treated us very, very nicely. But I mean, I told him several times on voicemail that we aren't Ghostbusters.
Well, he got your name wrong.
Okay, we should probably get into that. First time I talked to him, I can't remember what it. I leave him a voicemail. Jason, my name is Jason Corbis with Phase 3 Paranormal. He calls me back, and the first thing he calls me, I think, is James. He's like, "Okay, James, how you doing?" And then it was into like Dennis. He just got further and further away as time went on. Dennis.
Billy, Jimmy.
And then he was like, the day that we were there, he calls up saying he's going to be late, and he goes, Derek and Justin, are you guys still there?
Steve?
Yeah.
But then when he gets there, he's like, hey, Jason, hey, Bob, how you doing?
He knew it immediately after he got out of his car. And
well, the first thing that he asked is, goes, so are you guys real-life Ghostbusters?
Remember, we talked about it. You said, what? We were both kind of nervous trying to figure out what's gonna happen with this interview. We'd never done TV before. And
after that, I probably never will again.
But we're talking about it, and we're saying, okay, what do you think the guy's going to ask us? What do you think kind of questions he's going to talk about? And I said, well, the first thing he's probably going to do is ask us whether or not we're Ghostbusters. And I've already told him 3 times on voicemail that we're not. So, and what does he do? He pulls up. He's got the big smile on his face as he's coming out of the door. And the first question out of his mouth, Bob, is,
so are you guys real life Ghostbusters?
Now, cut to a few hours later,
right?
When I'm getting home from work and I'm sitting down, getting ready to watch TV. Because I want to see the interview. I'm really pumped. I'm like, awesome. My friends are going to be on TV. My group's going to be advertised. And all of a sudden it starts. I'm like pumped. And then the Ghostbusters comes in. And they have clips of the movie Ghostbusters.
It's actually the clip right in the beginning where the librarian's in the basement and all the library cards start flying everywhere.
The theme song comes on.
The first thing out of my mouth is, oh, fuck. My head drops. My roommate and my fiance both look at me and start laughing. They're like, "Oh, that's awesome!"
Luckily,
like,
well, not luckily yet. And then comes our introduction. So, hunting goblins and ghouls and ghosts.
Yes, we often go on goblin hunts.
And then to top it off, now our interview wasn't so bad.
The interview wasn't bad. I mean, actually, I had a good time doing it.
Except the one part that I didn't like is Joe Rignowski sitting in between you and I.
That was uncomfortable.
Hey, why don't you guys look at your ghost meters?
We just stare at them and kind of turn them around. And for anybody who ever seen that, I've watched it a couple times online.
Well, your mom's actually really mad at us still, and this was like 2 months ago.
This is in my mother's house that we did this interview, and we went down to, one of the things the reporter wanted us to do was to walk around the house and just show what it was like to be on a real-life paranormal investigation. So, since the front room, the living area, and the kitchen wasn't really conducive to, paranormal investigation, we went down to the basement. And in the basement, we did have to pass the litter boxes on the way downstairs. So, I wouldn't say it's demonic, but it smelled ungodly. So we passed by the litter boxes, and we're into the basement. And the basement is more of a laundry area. There's no really living that goes on down there.
I think he just wanted us to go down there because it was dark.
It was dark down there. There's, lack of light coming through the windows because this wasn't the middle of the afternoon.
He wanted to get you alone to touch your naughty parts.
No.
No.
Probably.
Lost respect.
Yeah.
But no, we go down there, and like I said, the basement is not really a living area. It's more of a laundry room, and
So there's mounds of clothes.
Well, not just there's underwear, and there's socks, and
Now, mind you, this was unannounced. He's like, let's just go into the basement.
Let's just go down the basement.
If he had time, I'm sure you would have straightened up for his mother.
I had no idea we were going to the basement because while I talked to him, leading up to the interview for several days, and what he kept telling me repeatedly was, well, we're just going to do the investigation. We'll just walk around outside your house, just so we can see like basics of what your equipment does and just take us through the motions. Well, I did not think he was going to be going down the basement, so I didn't clean up. I cleaned up the living room because I knew that's where we were going to be most of the time. I had no idea we were going down the basement, so there's my skivvies. There's my socks, my, everything. Everything's on there just laying around.
Hardcore pornography just sitting out.
Why do you just assume that it had to be hardcore?
Okay, softcore.
Softcore, that's right.
Softcore pornography.
No, so he brings us, he's like, well, let's just go down the basement. So we go down the basement. Of course, there's all my underwear and socks. And he is
Your mother's bra.
My mother's bra was down there. He went into her dressing, like she has a little dressing room down there that's kind of cordoned off, and there's a door that she goes in, and then she gets ready for work in the morning. He went directly in there. There's my mom's pajamas on her makeup, everything, and so yeah, it was It was a little embarrassing. I mean, he was taking I don't even know what the kind of shot is, but he was holding the camera down around the floor and following a cat that happened to be in the area. And so as he's walking with the camera that low to the ground, underwear. He's going through this mound of underwear and socks. He didn't even edit that out. I mean, we had 45 minutes of footage. He could have easily edited it out. He didn't. He chose to show it.
Well,
maybe he's some sick underwear freak.
He is.
The best part of the whole interview was when Joe assured us that we were going to have great promotion.
He said, he's like, I'm going to edit this real good. I'm going to make you guys look great. Don't worry about it. You guys going to get lots of business.
Oh, I'm not sure if anybody has ever been on the news, but when you're on the news, they ask you your name right into the camera, and then they want you to spell it properly. So when, they'll put your little name down there. So he says, what's your guys' website, and how can we reach you? So we say the website, we spell it out. No website plug whatsoever.
That was edited. He kept the underwear, edited out the website name.
Cut to 3 hours later, I finished watching the Ghostbusters bit. My head is hung low. I'm like, finally, just redeem it by giving out our name, our website. I don't know, just something about us.
Right. Our name's not even mentioned.
No.
So all this good publicity that we were supposed to get, we got nothing. There's no way for anybody to even look us up.
Hi, and we'll get back to these two sad gentlemen in a year and find out how they're doing. But no, it was pretty bad. It was horrible. I think in the future we should probably take more creative control over any type of promotion.
It was tough. I mean, I thought it was going good. Although I guess the part that should have tipped me off was at one point he's like, so what's the name of your group? And I was telling him again because Joe was the kind of guy who didn't remember. You'd say, I mean, obviously, I was talking about my name. I would keep telling him my name. He'd keep forgetting it.
Steve?
So he's
really?
He's not the kind of guy, I guess, that retains information. So
that's why he probably has a notepad.
Right.
Or an assistant.
Or a video camera. So later in the towards the end of the interview, he asked me, so what's the name of you guys' group again? And I was like, it's Phase 3 apparently. He was like, well, hold on, I'm breaking down the equipment now.
Yeah.
So he literally broke down the camera, put everything away while I'm trying to tell him more information about the group. I thought maybe, okay, well, this guy's maybe he's going to put it in the back of his mind and talk about it on the air or something later. I don't know. And then the interview airs, and there's no way for anybody to find us.
Yeah, he's going to end up covering the local craft show pretty soon. No, he's a nice guy.
Like I said, I don't want to say anything mean about the guy, because he actually was very nice. He was very friendly.
Well, I don't have any problem about saying things mean about people, so that's why I'm on the show.
I guess. The microphone gives you a lot of guts.
It does. The anonymity.
Yeah.
Hey,
what was your name again?
Beat my ass if you can find me.
Don't you say your name every time we come on the air?
Yes, we do, but it's actually not the real name. I kind of give out a fake name.
That's a lie.
That is a lie. That is correct. But yeah.
No, but aside from that, like I said, it was actually a pretty good experience on the news, except for the fact that no one knew who we were,
and that we're we obviously live in a firehouse, and
yeah, Slimer, Don't slime me,
Yeah.
you son of a bitch.
I've told this ghost. If I
What
told-
did you do, Jason? Is that another Stay Puft Marshmallow Man I see?
No, but it was a good experience.
It wasn't a good experience. Well,
like I said, the reporter himself was very friendly. We could have gotten a lot more,
Well, he interviewed us for 45 minutes. It seemed like he took the dull parts of the interview.
The worst, I made excellent points into why we're not Ghostbusters, why we prefer paranormal investigators. I must have given a lecture for 10 minutes at one point to one question, and that was completely edited out. Pretty much the only thing I got to say on TV was how long I've been interested in the paranormal, and pretty much everything else was you.
So let me ask you this: we've been interviewed by not only TV, but we've done some papers as well. What do you like better? What do you guys like better? Did you like the TV experience, or did you like the print experience?
I like the print experience personally.
The TV experience would have been much better for our group if our name would have been mentioned, because TV reaches more people, so you're going to get more more interest, more questions about your group. But in the experiences that we've had, we did an interview with the Toledo City paper, and that was by far better than the TV experience, just because we got our name in there, we got a very good explanation of what we did, and
they explained that we're not Ghostbusters.
They explained it because the reporter even asked me straight up, is there any, after she asked me all kinds of questions about what paranormal investigation's about, what kind of other cases have we done, all this, she asked me if there was anything specific that I wanted her to mention in the write-up, and I told her specifically that we're not Ghostbusters, that we hear that a lot, and that it's actually kind of annoying, because never do we show up anywhere with the theme song playing.
Right.
We don't show up with the proton packs. I went through the whole thing, and
I would love if those things really existed.
Sure.
I'm sure everyone would like to enjoy carrying around a tiny fucking particle accelerator on their back. I'm sure Homeland Security wouldn't mind about that at all.
Well, as long as you don't cross the streams, I don't understand what the big deal is.
Well, it's unlicensed as well. It's an
Right.
unlicensed nuclear accelerator.
That's true.
Right. It's a particle collider.
And that's why we have tech people on in our group, so we make sure that we don't cross the streams.
Right.
We have to be. I mean, even if it's not licensed, we do have to be trained on these kind of
Right. OSHA standards and such.
Crossing the streams would be bad, Jason.
Oh wow! So did anybody catch Ghost Adventures? The last episode of Ghost Adventures?
I don't watch that show.
Matt doesn't watch it. Me and you watched it together, so yes, at least one of us watched it.
I was spending time with my girlfriend.
My wife was watching with us.
I don't have a girlfriend.
My wife refers to that show as the Ghost Hunter on steroids.
Because the show is all about him and his muscles.
And his hair. Which is... He's a beautiful guy. I mean, I'm not going to lie. I wouldn't mind looking like the guy. I mean, he takes care of his hair. He wears nice muscle shirts.
Like you've ever had any trouble with women.
So what?
Bobby's a good-looking guy, and he likes to downplay that.
You know what? I'm going to be 100% honest about the show Ghost Adventures, is that I actually wouldn't mind that show if the guy didn't hey, did you hear that? Did you hear that? Wait, listen, hey. Oh my God, did you hear that?
Shut up!
That's the only thing about the show that drives me nuts. I really enjoy the guy Aaron.
Just know that I have a whole lot of over here for you.
Aaron is the guy with
Aaron's the camera guy.
He's the
he's the scaredy cat that they make him do.
He's got the shaved. If you've watched the show, he's got the shaved head and the goatee, and he's usually the one operating the camera because he's more scared of everything.
Fat.
He's also fat.
He's got the camera face.
Although he is on the air because he does make it on camera, because there was one particular moment when he was on the air on this most recent episode where they were hearing what they thought was some kind of dragging noise, which when I could hear something, but it sounded to me more like sawing in the distance.
Right.
It sounded like somebody sawing something. You could just hear the saw grating up against wood or something. The camera turns to Aaron, the scaredy cat, and what sound came out of his mouth?
Dude.
And I can only assume he was saying dude.
He was terrified, though. You could see his face.
His eyes were in complete shock. His face was contorted into terror, and all that came out of his mouth, duh. And I love the guy, actually. That made my day, actually. That made the whole episode.
I love basically what Ghost Adventures does that no other groups on television do is their whole of investigating is provoking.
Yeah,
all they do is provoke.
All they do is provoke.
They come into a place, they throw up fingers, they're like, "Hey, ghost! Hey, fuck you, man. Fuck you and fuck you. Okay?
What is up,
right?
you?
That's me trying not to drop the F-bomb in case
now,
family...
Now, is that the one you've already dropped like 4 times?
Right, exactly that one.
So now it's...
Basically, that's it. You know, the guys go in there like, "Hey, you ghosts, you all a bunch of queers."
That's what they do. I mean, I like it for that.
You know, last night's episode, it was Friday night. Friday night's episode was particularly funny for us, I guess, not only because of that, but also because the name of the entity they were provoking
was Mr. Boots.
Mr. Boots.
Mr. Boots.
So he goes into a room, Zach does, the lead investigator, and he says, he's like, "Is it true you don't want us to be in here with you, Mr. Boots?" And it's that voice. It's Boots. You can't say Boots and not say, and sound masculine at the same time.
Was this the ghost of a pissed off cat or something?
Mr.
Boots.
I don't know what I can't even remember.
Well,
what
I think he killed somebody because he killed a pregnant woman.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because
do you hate pregnant woman?
The other investigator, I can't remember his name. There's Zach, there's Aaron, and there's the other guy that's like a skinnier guy. I can't remember. That could have been Winston. But I can't remember why I got to that point or whatever. But yeah, I guess he killed a pregnant woman, and his first question was, because this is the kind of question you want to ask an entity if they kill pregnant women. If I was a pregnant female, would you hate me? That's the first question.
And then he goes, "Do you hate pregnant woman?"
Do you read grammar? I mean, it was ridiculous. It was totally ridiculous. But it made me laugh so hard.
I love the show. I mean,
we had to keep rewinding it. Bobby's got DVR over here, so we got to keep rewinding it over and over. And how many times did we wear it out listening to "Duh"? And then, "Do you hate pregnant woman?"
Do you think those will go on to be as timely as "Dude, run"?
You know what? I hope so, because "Dude, run."
I thought it was better than the "Dude, run."
"Dude, run" did. I mean, yeah. Run. I thought "Dude, run" was funny in that he was running from it or whatever, but it didn't. It doesn't have a lasting appeal to me. Like I'm not going to be quoting that.
Well, speaking of ghost hunters, you like how we just slid that in there?
That
again?
was a nice segue.
Yeah, you
segue.
Like
Segue.
We're going to bring up the Halloween episode one last time.
One more time.
And I'll let you guys know we will not bring this topic up again.
At least not until they do something crazy or outlandish again.
On YouTube, there is a person who goes by the alias of former GH fan, who should be calling us any second. And what he did is he did the 3D computer graphic. What the heck's that called?
Video analysis
recreation.
No, I'm talking about like the CGI or whatever it's called. Is that what it is?
Yeah, well, it's 3D animation.
Is that what it? Okay, it's 3D animation.
That,
yeah. I'm not computer savvy.
I mean, I think he did 3
I don't
videos.
read books.
Well, I think he did 3 videos. It was basically all about the point that people have been talking about the most, that was visual anyway, was the jacket getting pulled on, and that's got a lot of people confused. And he made a series of 3 videos, each one showing from a new angle, a new point behind it that he was trying to make, that common sense, if common sense can prevail, as he says, that you will see that the jacket was pulled downward and not outward. So he made a series of 3 videos, and the last of which, the most recent one, is a 3D animation, whatever you want to call it. Where somehow, I don't know how he does it. We'll talk about that, I guess. He takes the video from the night, and what does it say in the video? He
imports Grant's movements to a character that looks strangely like Grant.
A zombified version of Grant.
It almost looks like Ghost Hunter Sims.
That's a good way to put it, actually. It looks like Ghost Hunter Sims. He just ripped the movements of Grant out of the video and out of the live footage and put it in.
I was actually.
I don't know how he did it.
I was very impressed when I saw it.
It's amazing. And what it allows you to do is not only see his movements, but also he was able to close in on
different angles.
Yeah, on different angles. You can view Grant then from any angle. You can, like, his right hand has been one portion that's been in.
I think how it works is you can sort of see Grant's his right elbow. So by that movement, I think you can, see what his arm was doing just by the movement of his elbow or his shoulder, not his elbow.
So yeah, I mean, he was able to take that, so you can view him from any angle. You could do a close up of the collar, the jacket collar itself, to show how that collar behaved when it was allegedly tugged. And so any moment now we should have.
He's calling right now, so we have him on right now.
Oh hey, this is a former is this a former GH fan?
Yes, it is.
All right, so we're going to talk to you today about the videos you've been making on YouTube. What made you take those videos? What made you start to record them?
Well, it was basically when I watched the live show. I mean, I was been a fan of the show for like 4 years, ever since the beginning of the series, and always believed that everything I saw in there was real. And then when I saw the live show, it caught me off guard. I mean, I was just pretty much shocked at what I saw. I mean, it hit me in the face, and so I decided to make the video to show everybody what I saw.
What program did you use? That was pretty awesome, I thought.
Are you referring? Which one are you referring to?
The 3D GI one, or the graphic one?
The 3D. I use a program called Maya for the 3D stuff, and I did some other work with this program called Buju, which is a tracking, stabilizing software. It's used for motion pictures and film.
That's cool. I would say we probably all felt the same way about the Ghost Hunters Live thing. I mean, a lot of people have been questioning it for a long time, but I think when people saw that live show, that's what hit a lot of people in the face. I would say after that, we've seen like literally thousands of people on message boards and everything starting to question, getting mad. What did you think about how people seem to say that you kind of can't question taps? Did that hit you any particular way?
Yeah, I mean, if you come across as pure entertainment, like say if you're David Blaine or any number of people that are magicians or are not claiming or doing things that are not claiming to be genuine. You have people who do mentalists who do work that basically can come across as being psychic or any number of things like that. If you go in stating that what you're doing is pure entertainment, you can't question that. But when you go in to something like paranormal work and you claim to be genuine and first and foremost skeptics of everything, and you want to prove all things, and then to me, of course, I never could prove to 100. I wasn't there when the jacket pulling thing happened, but using my own common sense, I've been looking at that, and I'm like, if a magician were doing that in front of me, I would laugh.
Yeah, what I was even thinking is that, people, Taps has always said, if you can recreate it, you have to throw it out, and it seems like people can recreate it very easily, but yet they're still getting mad that people are questioning them.
Yeah, I mean, and what would you say? I mean, if you for 4 years have been coming across as or telling people that you're completely legitimate and you take paranormal activity seriously, then you do something like this if it is a hoax. I mean, you're not going to say, "Yeah, I hoaxed it. Thanks, everybody. Sorry." I mean, there's not really much you can say. I mean, you can pick at certain things, but it's pretty obvious that since they don't really have much to say about it, that speaks volumes.
Now, I'm sure that your video on YouTube has gotten many, many, many thousands of hits. Have you actually been contacted yet by anyone saying they represent, Taps, or what kind of feedback in general have you gotten from the video?
Actually, everybody's been 95% positive, and people were glad to see it, and they were just basically saying, "Yeah, I saw the same thing that you saw, and this is really upsetting me." Everybody had sort of the same reaction because people are such diehard fans of that show, and I've always been.
So have I. I mean, I've always been a fan of the show. I always thought they were, again, they approach most shows from the point of being skeptical about what's going on. They analyze their evidence the same way, and then all of a sudden, they're getting more and more popular. Then they have this live event that's running for 5 hours on Sci-Fi. I understand that Sci-Fi maybe put a little bit of pressure on them to, have something happen. And, I unfortunately, it looks like they had to go as far as, faking some of the evidence.
Yeah, and we never know, whose idea that was. But it's just the fact that it's there it just blows a hole in their credibility.
But the question is say the network did put them up to it, shouldn't they be just as guilty for going along with it? Really...
Absolutely. I mean, without a doubt. But you think about it. You start off with the best intentions when you do anything, and if in my mind, and I'm not saying I'm just speculating. It's all speculation because I don't know these people. I don't know their character. I don't know what they would or wouldn't do. But in my mind, I'm putting myself in their place. If I were to be presented a show that's on television, and then I started getting all this popularity. I mean, not just from people watching the show, but the fans from the show. And you get all this attention just heaped on top of you. It's hard to not let that go to your head a little bit, and then you don't want to lose that. And when someone comes to you and says, this show is getting dull, it's getting boring, what can we do to spice it up? And they make suggestions. You got a lot of money riding on shows like that because you have huge crews. I mean, it doesn't come across on the show that there's that many people involved, but there's a huge number of people that go into making a show like that.
No doubt, with all the production values and such.
And all these people are drawing a paycheck, and they earn a living off this television show, and so everybody wants to keep it going.
You mean they're not really plumbers anymore?
That's the other thing that's funny. I mean, that's all. It's all theatrics, and you saw some of that in the live show when they cut to Steve and Tango, I believe, and they were counting down, and then they had him walk back to their mark.
That was great. I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that's just part of the show. And I expected that. That didn't bother me because I know that they have to do certain things like that because you cut back to a blank camera, you're like, where is everybody? You know what I mean? And somebody's over there in the corner picking their nose. I mean, you got to be prepared for that stuff.
Now, when it comes to the coat tugging, now if it just would have happened once as opposed to 3 times, would you have still made your video?
Probably not, because it would have been a little bit more difficult to analyze it. Because one time you could say, oh yeah, okay, well his hand was down by his side. Well, okay, I mean, what can I say about that? But you're talking about 3 times in a row, and a guy who's right-handed, whose right hand is empty, and his left hand is holding a voice recorder, chooses to use his left hand to investigate a ghost pulling his jacket, and suddenly his right hand is frozen like he had a stroke, and that just speaks volumes. I mean, but you do it one time and it's over with, it's a little bit more difficult. It still would have been obvious, though, that the collar moved the way it did. I still would have been able to isolate his body motion from his jacket to show that the jacket itself is not moving. That to me is the clincher there. That last little video I did where you isolate his body movement from the collar and the jacket, and you can see clearly the jacket doesn't move, and he claims that it moves. I mean, he said it himself. He's like, my whole jacket moved. I think he says it twice. So he obviously didn't feel his jacket move because it didn't move. So what does that tell me? That tells me he's not telling me the truth. He's telling me something. He's trying to be deceptive. And
yeah, I would say one of the better points you made was that from the time he turns that corner basically and starts to go down the hallway, he has a camera in his right hand.
Yeah.
And then once he turns the corner, for the next 20 minutes or so, the camera disappears.
Yeah, well, if you look there, it seems like he goes on the audio. It seems like he goes off to the side there in the little alcove, and it sounds like he's knocking on a door or something. You hear a knocking sound, but then I don't know if it's him or not. It could be somebody else. But then when he comes back out, he's not holding the camera. But if you look to his right before they turn and go left, there's a stool sitting there with a camera on it, and I believe he just set the camera down on the stool. For whatever reason, he didn't make any announcement of it or anything, or make a production out of it. He just set it down. So to me, when you backwards engineer the whole event, and like I did, and that's basically what that is. It's sort of a backwards engineering. Because when you're watching it, you're not paying attention to any of the little things that lead up to something happening. You're only paying attention to the thing that happened. But when you've got a live piece of video like that, you're able to backward engineer the whole thing and show, okay, let's back up here and let's see how this whole thing started. And then you put all these little clues together that lead up to, oh, why did he do that? And why is his hand there? And why is he pulling his collar up? And so.
Well, did you notice? Did you notice when Jason pat the back of Grant's coat? There's another tug right there.
Yeah, that's really, that one I showed it in there, but because it's there, but I have no way of debunking why that happened. You know what I mean? Whether if there's a string in there, if it got caught on a piece of fabric and pulled down. The important thing to me was that it moved on its own without anybody acknowledging it, and it went straight down just like the rest of the tugs.
Now, have you actually gone back and looked at old pieces of footage from Ghost Hunters and try to see if there's anything else you could try to reverse engineer, as you say?
Well, after watching the show for 4 years and trusting everything that Grant and Jason told me, and then seeing this, my brain immediately went into rewind of all the episodes I could remember where they caught really cool evidence, and I realized that just about every major paranormal event that they caught was caught by Grant, and when you go back to like the Queen Mary episode where I think it was like Tango was like one of the new guys or whatever, and the bedsheet thing and then Tango debunked it with the camera being paused and started again. I really do truly believe when I'm watching that Tango was not supposed to debunk that. And that's just my speculation. Now I'm looking at all that stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I bet that was another phony baloney thing that he, being the new guy, didn't realize. And nobody probably thought that you could debunk something like that easily.
How did you feel about the disembodied voice?
As soon as I heard that, I'm not there. I can only debunk or analyze what, I can see on video. It's harder to analyze something like that because you're not there and hearing what they heard. But to me, it sounds digitized. It sounds like, it doesn't sound like something that's in the environment.
No, it sounds like a director actually saying that.
Yeah, it's a really strange thing. And they didn't, what struck me as odd is that they didn't really, as soon as something happens to Grant in that show, it's like he instantly accepts it as, oh, that's a ghost voice, loudest one I've ever heard. Why don't you walk around and check and see if there's no guys with radios? It didn't seem, it was just like a whitewash thing. It's like, oh, that's a ghost.
Yeah, I would say that if you notice on one of the investigations they just recently did, they had another disembodied voice. This one said, "I like the guy with the hat."
Oh yeah, and that one he said was the loudest he'd ever heard. Like before the live event one was the loudest he ever heard, and now this one. And
if you notice, they went around looking for a speaker, or Jay asked Grant, "Whoa, was that on your walkie?" They look for alternate explanations. As in the live investigation, they seem to just pass right over it.
Yeah, when you've got you're talking like an immense crew on that island. The truckloads and truckloads of equipment. You're talking radios everywhere. Every single crew member has a radio, and you got radio interference from every single direction. And it would be impossible to use something like those detectors they have, the ones that supposedly ghosts talk to them on. Not the EMF, but the
Ovilus or
the handheld, the recorders.
K2 things, the K2 things.
Oh, the K2 meters.
And you immediately should have to throw that stuff away because I've been around crews like that, and it's ridiculous the amount of wiring and electrical interference that's going on. So what you see framed in the camera is nothing compared to what's around that camera. You've got cameramen everywhere. You got sound guys everywhere. You got truckloads of people that are editing that on the fly, and it's just not. It just didn't. After seeing all this, I just realized, that there's not a lot of accuracy going on there, and it really bothered me because I really wanted to believe everything they said. Like if somebody on that show, if Grant says I just saw a full-bodied apparition, I really believed him, but not anymore because I want to see it. You know?
Yeah,
okay, put it on video. Get a video camera and put it on your hat. Let me see what you're seeing every time you turn around the corner and see something crazy.
We actually discussed that last week, why they don't actually have point-of-view cameras, you know, again, on their hat or, you know, something right on their shoulder, because they always see something that's just out of the camera sight.
What I've always wanted them to do is to, like, you know, I mean, they add these little devices that nobody's ever heard of before, and then say, well, one of the theories is that ghosts can talk through this. Okay, well, that's a theory. You got to collect evidence through things that you understand, like that, for instance. Well, what way of better catching more video evidence than to put more cameras out there? They'll only focus a camera on an area where someone says they saw something or a door opened. Oh, let's put a camera right there. Well, the show seems to be making more money now, and you would think that they would have 2 or 3 cameras on a spot, or, you know, put a camera in every room and then one on each side of the room so you're facing both ways and you never miss anything. But it doesn't happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say a lot of what you're saying echoes a lot. We're gonna go to a break really quick. We'll come right back.
Okay.
If you would hold the line.
Sure, no problem.
All right.
We'll be right back with more Strange Frequencies on Para X Radio.
Yes, third strike up in this. Mr. E up in this. Rebel Alliance. Yo. Breath out the flamethrower like hot to death. Put on your Fisher Price demo, not so fresh. I am the furious you put out to pasture. Speak of my innocence, ask her. I was an angel till 18. Bottled in weed and gobbled the seed like honest as Eve. Cerebellum advanced, 2 kids you tore. You still get sliced, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. People under the stairs trying to chase us. Fastest from first to third like Jose Reyes. Amazing metropolitans, my following. Peter Parker, dog, I'm up here and copping it. A Wolverine like Jawan and Jalen. Automatics, I'm armed with pavements. Concrete missiles that kill the pop lockers. Eons out here for you perking fight poppers.
Look, sir, Troy, how long have you had this?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
What was it?
Having trouble with your droid?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Look, sir, Troy, how long have you had this?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
What was it?
Having trouble with your droid?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Don't make your eardrums fail and rupture the canals. I watch your flow stop like clogged heart valves. We're well known for keeping minds blown. This shit's so off the hook that I spit in dial tone. Running up in your crib, Lizzie Borden style. In your daughter's room, laughing, stabbing baby dolls with a Berkowitz smile. Living in denial, told him put this dog to sleep when convicted at the trial. I know we're not in Kansas cause my scarecrow has brain damage. And I'm running with Landis, hoping the helicopter landed. Got a car to overlook the overlook till May 11th. Had you with the twins in room 237. The world keeps turning, it got me feeling sick. So constantly I'm trying to knock this planet off its orbit. Expect the unexpected in this Twilight Zone series. Sometimes I feel my life's a big conspiracy theory.
Look, sir, Troy, how long have you had this?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
What was it?
Having trouble with your droid?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Look, sir, Troy, how long have you had this?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
What was it?
Having trouble with your droid?
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
I'ma spit a sweet 16 to split the Sistine Chapel. Leave your head in the news while I crack the gavel. Smash the apple that you got on top of your head. Let the trick shot of hip-hop take away your street cred. Leave your face beat red, make you ashamed of who you are. Pop junkie, sell out, rap superstar. Wanna do a track, don't even hold your breath. You're a rhyme away from heaven where it's cold as death. Don't even hold what's left, we break ashes and urns. Our rhymes just coast while yours crashes and burns. And then we take turns, tearing your life to shreds. Ripping out your dreads, make you wear horse heads to bed. Use my forceps instead, choke any breath that's left. Break every bone in his body except his neck. Cause I want him to watch, want him to know how it happened. How a stupid mother got killed over some rapping.
What? There's something very weak coming through.
Sir, this signal is not used by the Alliance.
All right, welcome back. If you're listening, you just heard former GH fan. He's made a couple videos online. You can check those out at youtube.com/formerghfan. You can also email him at formerghfan@gmail.com. But right now we have Monica Crimmins. She's the anesthetic witch. She is a empathic medium. Monica, are you with us?
I am here. How are you?
We're doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm pretty good.
All right, so you're an empathic medium.
Yes.
Talk about what that means.
Empathic mediums, they have a different range as to their abilities. Some can only see spirits. Some can hear them. Or some can do like I do and can see and hear them at the same time. So if I'm in a place, in a house, and you're investigating and you want to know who you're talking to, 9 times out of 10 I can tell you who you're talking to, or who is present in the house and who is haunting this house or who is residing, shall I say.
Are you a cleanser?
No, I don't do any cleansing.
Why not?
No, I will. Well, I'll ask them to move on. I don't force them.
What are reasons why an entity or something like that would want to stay behind?
A lot of it's just interest. They take a great interest in the living. I mean, they're people too. They're just as much of a person as you and I are, and they have they can stay there and they can observe you and they can, without the boundaries of a physical body. And most of the time it's just interest. They have an interest. Some of them are stuck because they just won't admit that they're dead. And until they admit that they're gone, they can't really do anything.
They can't move on.
Right.
Monica, tell us a little bit how you discovered your talents, when they first manifested, and some of the things you went through when you first realized that you had this gift.
It started when I was about 5. And I kept having dreams that my great-grandparents actually at the time, were going to pass on. And I had 4 of them, and how each one of them was going to pass on and about when they were going to pass on. And from that point, it happened. One right after another. They passed away within a space of probably about 5 years of each other, and they died exactly how they thought. And at first, when I first started talking about this, my family were kind of upset about it. You know, first of all, why would a 5-year-old child be talking about this? And I was taken to see various counselors and things along that line, and nobody could ever find anything wrong with me other than, you know, I was a typical kid. Over the years, I don't want to say it kind of lay dormant. I just didn't allow it to come forward anymore. You know, if I got a feeling or if I had a dream or if I did anything along that line, I just kind of kept it to myself because we're raised in a society that says that's not normal. You know, it's abnormal for you to be talking to something that's seemingly not there, you know.
Right.
You'd be labeled as schizophrenic or something. So, you know, up until I was a teenager, I really didn't do anything with it. Now, when I got to be a teenager, and everybody knows teenage girls can be the most evil little things in the world.
No, not teenage girls.
That's when it really started picking up. And I had 2 sisters at the time, 2 stepsisters at the time, and everybody thought that there was some kind of rivalry between the 3 of us, and that wasn't it. It was just I had some really bad feelings about these 2 girls, and they brought things into our house beyond my parents' knowledge.
What do you mean?
For about the 3 years that they lived there, we had an entity in our house, and he was not very pleasant.
Now, did they know they were bringing the entities, or did the entities just attach themselves to these people?
They just attached themselves because these girls had lived a very hard life until they came into our house. And so they had already, you know, they had a personality that just drew this kind of stuff in. And we would get blamed for things that this entity did. You know, hiding stuff and moving stuff and breaking stuff that we didn't do. There were four kids in the house, and us 4 kids weren't doing it. It was this entity. But it's not like I could approach my family and say, this is what was happening. My stepfather was a master sergeant in the Air Force, very strict, very militaristic, and he would never, ever accepted that as an excuse for any of that. So I kind of wrote it out, and then when I hit I was probably 19 or 20, my mother found a set of tarot cards in a house that she was remodeling, and she gave them to me. And I finally said, okay, sit down. I'm going to show you what you do with these. And I read her cards, and one of the things in her cards was that she was going to receive $250 that night. And she just didn't believe me. Well, lo and behold, we went out to dinner that night, and she saw a friend of hers, and he came up and made her an offer of $250 on a chair that she was selling.
Wow.
And she received her $250. And from then, my mother's been probably my biggest believer, my biggest fan. And she supports it more than I ever thought she would have. But at the same time, she said, had she not seen it for herself, then she wouldn't have believed it.
Was that the first time you ever used tarot cards?
No, I had actually started using them when I was about 12. I just didn't tell it to her because a lot of people equate things like tarot cards and stuff like that with Satanism.
Well, could you explain to us exactly how tarot cards, how they work?
When I'll tell you how I do. When I do the tarot cards, I always lay down 3 sets. The first set is usually your past, and I will explain anything that are in the cards that the cards decide to bring up about your past. And then I'll lay down a set for the second for your present and explain anything that the cards are saying in your present. And then I'll lay down a set for the future and anything that is in your future that the cards want you to see. Most people come to tarot readers to find out what's happening or what's going to happen so they can change it. And any time you go to a tarot reader and they read you, if they're okay with your past and they're okay with your present, then more than likely the future that they're going to read you is good too. But the only thing with going to a tarot reader is that any kind of conversation or anything you do when you walk out of that room with them can change everything that happened on those future cards. So if I was to read one of you two and say, okay, this is what's going to happen to you in the future, and you have a conversation with the other one, it could completely change the outcome of that.
So in other words, you're saying your fate is not, at least as far as your beliefs go, your faith is not set in stone. Anything you do could deviate your future.
You make your destiny. You shape and you choose your destiny.
So like Yoda says, the future is always in motion.
There you go.
Like Sarah Connor said in Terminator 2, no fate but what we make.
That's right. You guys, right. You set your own future, and that's exactly what most tarot card readers believe, or most psychics that you go to. But you got to watch when you go to tarot readers and psychics, because a lot of them will feed off of your body movements and your facial expressions. So sometimes when I do readings, I will read people with my back to them.
Okay.
If I'm not using the cards, I'll sit with my back to them, so I can't see their facial expressions and I can't see their movements.
Well, that does add, I think, a bit of, I hate to use the term credibility, but I think that's the best one I could see.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that does mean that adds something to your reading, because you're not looking them in the face, you're not seeing them smile, or the sense of surprise on their face.
The only time that I will, if I'm reading a person and I'm not facing them, the only time I'll ever turn around is if I hear them start to cry. It's just a normal human response to turn around and want to comfort them. Because I don't really, if I can tune them out and just start talking, then that's what I do. And I ask them to wait until I ask them for questions, and then let them ask me questions if they want to ask me questions. Because I just want to get everything out as quickly as I can so that they can hear it all, and nothing gets disrupted. Because sometimes I'm getting this information about their past and their present from their family members that have decided to come in on the reading.
So you're saying that during a reading, you also have the spirits of family members join you.
That'll come in. That will come in, especially parents, brothers and sisters, and spouses that have passed over, and children. Those that are closest to them.
Would you be
Every once in a while, I'll get grandparents.
Would you be interested in doing a tarot reading for us over the phone today?
I could.
We have a fourth. Our producer is actually open-minded about this and would be interested in having a tarot reading done if that's something you'd be interested in doing for him.
I sure can.
That would be awesome.
We would love that if you could do that.
Well,
Okay.
let's go ahead and we'll get him on the mic here so you can speak with him and
Okay.
do this upright. Hold on for one moment.
All right.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Monica.
Hi. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine.
My name's Jason.
Jason. Got another Jason, huh?
Yes, we have two Jasons.
There's a bunch of them.
We have a bunch of them. We have like 5. No, I'm just...
They mass-produced us around the 80s.
Flock of Jasons, huh? How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine. You sound a little bit skeptical.
Yeah.
Open-minded but skeptical.
Right.
That's a hit.
As I'm sitting here and I've got one name that's coming to mind for some reason. I don't know who it's attached to, whether it's attached to one of the two Jasons or to Bobby, but it's the name David.
David.
And this David, is a very overwhelming person, and he wants to talk for some reason. I don't know if he's just wanting attention. He could be what I call traffic. When they know that I'm doing something along this line, they just start coming through like a highway, and they just want attention.
What is David? What, do you know what he's saying, or what?
He just wants to talk. I mean, he just wants to talk, and he's not really saying anything that makes any sense. He's actually being very animated about it too. But as the more I think about him, the more he's narrowing him down to one of the two Jasons.
So
and he's not very old.
So it's definitely one of the two Jasons, then you're thinking.
One of the two Jasons, but he's not very old. He's just, I can't see. He's probably late 20s, maybe early 30s. I don't think he's that old.
Could it be?
And he died of a drug overdose, I think.
Then it wouldn't be a spirit guide, right?
No. This one's not a spirit guide. Now, spirit guides are a completely different thing, and I don't always tap into the spirit guides because they are they're very personal to each person, and they're almost like your shadow, and they're a shadow that only you can see, and every once in a while I'll get a glimpse of them.
So are you saying they're like a guardian angel, or?
Kind of. They're like that person that tells you don't cross the street.
Okay.
When you get the feeling you shouldn't cross the street, or don't go into that room. I don't know if you've ever had a feeling that you shouldn't go into a certain room or something, but that's what they are. And David is he's definitely attached to one of the two Jasons. He just won't tell me which one.
Well, it's like we met you before, and you said before that sometimes you don't pick up the hit right away. You get it later.
It depends on how open they want to be.
Don't you need more information about the individual?
Not necessarily, not all the time. No.
Okay.
Now, you personally, the Jason I'm talking to, not the other Jason. Jason 2. Jason 2, why have you been so stressed out lately? What's got you so stressed out? You seem like you're overwhelmed.
Job and money.
I mean, you just seem like it's not at all as bad as you think it is. I think you have a tendency to take everything way too personally. And you also have a tendency to be very rigid when you shouldn't be. You're awfully young to be so rigid.
How young do you think I am?
Why am I putting you at about 32?
34.
That's pretty close.
That's close, yeah.
But you're awfully young to be that. You're awfully young to be as rigid as you act. You need to lighten up, loosen up a little bit, and have a little more fun.
Lighten up, Jason number 2.
You're not having enough fun. You're not at all. And you need to give yourself a break. You're running way too many hours beyond what you're doing. And your personal life is suffering from it.
It is?
Is there a you got a blonde girl
No.
that's kind of attached to you. I think this is a child. I don't think this is a female or an adult. This is a child.
Okay.
And I want to say she's like a niece or a cousin because I don't think she's directly related to you. But you are just a big thing in her life, a big thing in her world.
Huh.
Who could this be, Jason number 2?
I have a nephew, or not a nephew, my cousin's child. Okay. His name is Gabe. He's blonde-haired, little.
Okay. This
5
child
years
just
old.
loves you. Just loves you. And whenever you're around, this child is just very, very, very happy and very content. And I think you need to take a lesson in life from this child because he's been brought to you to be a lesson to you, to not be so rigid. He's
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You said you pull up cards for the past as well. Is there anything else that you're seeing?
Well, right now I'm not using the cards.
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry. I thought you
No,
said
no,
that's
I'm
what
not
you were
using the
doing.
cards. It depends on the person. If I can get away with not using the cards, I won't use the cards. Because a lot of the times the cards will muddle themselves because I got to separate what comes from the cards from what's in that person's mind that's trying to come through to me. And a lot of the times, because I let them shuffle the cards so that the cards can get a feel for them. Well, a lot of the times, people don't think of one thing at a time. We're all inherently bipolar, I think, and just sitting in a room with a person, that one person can have so many thoughts at one time. I think me and Bobby, we discussed this about Bobby. Yeah. Bobby has thousands of thoughts going on in his mind at one time, so narrowing it down to what they need to be told can be hard because they can put all those thoughts into those cards, and then I got to distinguish what's going on in those cards and how to place it all together. Because most people's focuses are on love and money.
The two great motivators, I think, of
right.
of our society right now.
Right, love and money, and that's it. And they go hand in hand because people don't believe they can have love without money. And vice versa, really, because most people don't think they can have money without love because they got to have a love for whatever they're doing to get that money.
Very true. I guess one question that keeps popping up when people talk about mediums and things of this nature is why would if a medium can hear spirits and can communicate with spirits, why would they use tarot cards? What would be the reason?
Not all of them do. Not all of them do.
I guess
I don't do.
I guess why do you then? Why do you?
I do tarot. I use tarot cards for readings only. If the person wants to find out about their past, present, and future, that's what it's for. If I go on an investigation with a team, those tarot cards are nowhere around. I don't need them. I walk through wherever I'm at. I get whatever information I can get from them. Try to show them this is, try to show the team what area that person seems to frequent and what they do in this house or this building or whatever. The tarot cards have nothing to do with it.
So basically, the tarot cards are just basically for the one-on-one readings,
right?
With a person, and then that's just you use in conjunction with your gift, and then when you go out to a house or an investigation, that's basically when you use just your ability to see and to hear and communicate with the spirits.
And if I don't have to use them tarot cards, I will not use them because I would much rather tell them what's coming to my mind rather than try to sit down and do this whole past, present, and future for them because a lot of people, they want the tarot cards strictly for the show.
Right. Which you have to, I guess, don't you think that's part of the reason they were designed the way they were designed? I've seen tarot cards a few times, and they're very beautifully drawn.
True.
Right.
Yeah, and such. And don't you think that maybe part of the reason they were drawn as beautifully as they're done, or is some of them are actually kind of creepy. The reason they're drawn that way is to give the people who you're doing a reading for a bit of the theatrical,
Right, and it is. It is. I mean, it's for Madam whoever sitting there with her turban on and her crystal ball, and it's not for me. I mean, I do them only if the client or only if the person asks me to do them. If they'll allow me just to read them without the cards, we're so much better off, because then I can just free flow whatever comes to my mind. And then I can also allow any relatives that may have stepped in and want to say something to them to say something to them, Because most of them don't even know when they sit down with me that if they have a relative, that I can tell them stuff that their relative would like to get through to them.
Is it possible, Jason number 2, is it possible to do a tarot card reading over the phone, or is it something they have to be there for in person?
I'd like to be there for in person, only because I know you've all heard of auras and things along that line. Then I can focus more on his spirit in general. I've done them on the internet, but it's taken a lot to do them.
Right.
Because then I have a picture of the person. If I can just have a picture of their face, then I can focus on their spirit and on their soul. Over the phone's a little more difficult. Bits and pieces of information will come through over his voice.
Is it possible to try it anyway, or is it really something he has to be there for in person? Just picture.
We could try. We can try.
We can give it a shot. I mean,
if you don't mind that.
Yeah, if you don't mind. I mean,
we definitely don't want to push you.
We want to make sure you're comfortable with it.
No, that's fine. I mean, like I told him, there's that blonde-haired child that just adores him, and the child is not there to. The child is there to be a lesson. Jason has a lot of lessons to learn in this lifetime. And, Jason, you're not married, are you?
Yes, I am.
You are?
Yes.
Why am I seeing you as not then? Is your marriage a very difficult one?
No.
No? I don't see a female attached to you like a female should.
What do you think? What do you think the problem could be with his marriage? Is it anything specific, or?
I don't see her attached to. I don't see a female attached to him, and I don't really see him attached to a female.
You are married, right, Jason?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Well, spiritually, if he was married, I should have seen a woman standing to his side.
I see.
But I don't see. There's no female. So it can mean one of two things. Either they are so attached that they're one person, or they're not attached at all.
Could that be, Jason, maybe that you're so attached that it's like one person?
It could be.
Because, I mean, I don't know your wife, but you seem to get along pretty well with her.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be any major problems anyway.
And now, see, and another name's coming up. It's not an actual person. It's just a name that's coming to mind. Is Amanda. Once again, I'm talking to 3 different people, so attaching that name to one of the 3 of you.
We have an Amanda, and me, Bobby, and Matt all have an Amanda connection because she's in the group with us. We have an Amanda in the group.
I actually have another Amanda that I know. So
this Amanda is
another Amanda too.
She's not. I'll try to physically describe her. She's alive, yeah. She's not. But she's
That's good to know.
Not very. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
She's not a very big person. But she's not very petite. She's like average. I'd probably say late 20s, maybe mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Between 25 and 29 or so. Kind of blondish hair. And very giggly. Loves to laugh. Very, 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 very pleasant person to be around. She's the kind of person that you don't have to break the ice with her. It's automatically broken. You know?
Is this part of
very friendly with somebody.
Is this part of the tarot cards that you're doing right now?
this is a name of
Okay.
whenever something comes to me, and I'm gonna say it and I'm gonna
Okay.
describe it.
Okay. Do you have
whoever
your? I was gonna say, do you have your tarot cards handy?
They're upstairs. I keep them locked
I'm
away.
sorry. Okay. Well. No problem then. I didn't know. You didn't. Yeah, I wasn't
No,
sure.
I
if you...
keep them locked away.
Okay. No problem then.
Not, you know.
No problem. Yeah. So what else? So I would say the Amanda that we know, you got the description pretty much right. She has darker hair, not blonde, but the age is pretty close. She's early 30s, I believe.
I don't know. She's attached to one of the three of you. I'm not saying attached like she's your best buddy, but
right.
She's present, you know, and
Yeah.
she's somebody that you talk to on a regular basis.
I would say that's true.
Not for me.
And all I can say is she's going to be whoever she's around. I don't know if it's, you know, which Jason or if it's Bobby, but she's going to be a friend for life. And whoever she's attached to, please cherish every minute you have with her.
I do. I'm gonna make. You know what? Actually, that's pretty good advice. I think you should probably do that with all friends. But yeah, definitely with Amanda. She's someone that's been close to me for a long time. So
she's not expendable, friends. You know, she's one that you can consistently count on.
I would agree with
People
that.
come and go in your life, and this one, she's there for real. She's there.
Yeah, she's a good friend.
We've been best buds for 8 years, so yeah, hopefully that will continue for a lifetime. I very much want that.
Oh, she will. She's there. She's not going anywhere. Now, Jason number 2, you're referring to you as that.
He currently stepped out for a minute.
He's
oh, did he?
He's back.
He's back. She wants to talk to you. Sorry.
Jason number 2.
We have 3 mics
What a
and
name.
we have 4 people in the room and 3 mics.
Oh, okay.
He's back.
Okay.
I'm back.
That
I'm
doesn't-
sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Gotta go. You gotta go. Are both of your parents living?
One is.
Your father's gone?
No, my mother.
Is your father kind of sick?
I don't talk to my father.
You don't? Okay. I don't see him being around for much longer. His spirit's kind of waning.
How does that make you feel, Jason number 2?
We had a very distant relationship, so
so it's not.
I don't
like
want to
it's-
say that I don't care, but it's hard to describe.
It's because you were drained of the relationship you did have with him.
Well, yeah.
Right. He drained you, and he's not long for this world, and his spirit has given up on him. For some reason, I get the feeling that he was addicted to something,
Alcohol?
and that's going to be the death of him. So, was he a very violent man?
No.
No.
He was just distant.
Does personality change? Because it seems like he would be one person 1 minute, and next minute he's different, and you never knew what to expect.
Yeah.
Okay. Just know, and I do tell people if I do see impending deaths, depending on the relationship involved. If it's too close of a relationship, I might not tell them because it could be pretty devastating. Because then they're going to sit there and say, "Okay, when's he dying? When's he dying? When's he dying?" But since there's not a real give and take relationship between the two of you, just know that it's not long.
Okay.
That you're going to get the phone call saying he's no longer here.
Okay.
Okay? So, but I think that you have already been prepared for that for most of your life.
Yeah, I have.
So, yeah, we have another name coming. Tonight's the night for names. Who's got the Lucille? She's an older woman. She's passed. Lucille. Lucy.
Not me.
No.
Can't think of anything right off the bat, but
I can't tell if she was a grandparent or if she was a great aunt, or she's definitely older. I don't know if she passed before any of you were born.
No, I mean, Lucille.
Is there a fourth person in the room?
There are four
there's
total.
Jason and Jason. Right now, my name is you're speaking with Matthew.
Okay.
I'm Jason number 1.
I'm Jason 2.
And I'm Bobby.
Okay. Matthew,
Yes,
is she attached to you?
Lucille. I don't.
Could it be a pet?
No.
No, this is a person. She's definitely a person, and she's telling me to tell him that he's not going the way that he needs to go. That's what she's saying. Lovely how cryptic these people can be sometimes.
Right.
But they only have so much that they can communicate with you with. That's why when you get like EVPs and stuff,
Right.
they make absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
Because they can only communicate so much with you. A lot of times when they communicate with me, they show me pictures. It's almost like looking at a photo album, or sometimes it's like watching a bit of a movie. But she is telling me that he's not going the way he's supposed to be going, and it's one of the 4 of you in that room.
Okay.
I'll tell you what, you mentioned EVPs. That reminds me of back into paranormal investigation. I know you've done a lot of investigations yourself.
Right.
Tell us about some of your experiences you've had, doing investigations for people.
A lot of times when I'm on an investigation, we tend to get quite a few EVPs because they're trying to talk to me. Because I'll tell you this much. I've gone to investigations when I've walked around with a team. Spirits do not understand why I can see them and hear them, but nobody else can. Sometimes it confuses them and angers them, and that's when we get problems like, things flying around and stuff,
Yeah.
I think I told you, too, about the flying poodle.
Yeah, and why don't you
tell us the story of the flying
I
poodle?
definitely got to hear this story. Please tell me about the flying poodle.
I went into a house with a team, and this lady had every complaint from cabinet doors slamming and drawers moving, doors slamming, chairs sliding across the room, your typical poltergeist activity. And we went in, and it was dead calm. So the lead investigator got the idea that, brilliant idea, Monica, go ahead and provoke him some.
Wow.
Okay, so I started provoking him. And I'll tell you the one thing, and I've never quite understood this, but spirits do not like it when you cuss at them. Because a good majority of them come from a time when a woman just didn't speak like that.
True.
And so I started provoking them. Well, we started hearing things knocking and banging, and they caught the cabinet door banging in the kitchen. And I kept telling the spirit, you know what, that's not good enough. I want to see something good. I don't think you're here because I just think I think you're weak. And when I said weak, she had this little tiny teacup poodle.
It's not funny, Bob. I can't help
It's not funny, Bobby, now. It was a tiny, poor little, 3-pound poodle. I mean, he was just a little itty-bitty thing. He had been laying on the back of the couch.
He was just sleeping or something.
Yeah, he was sleeping on the back of the
relaxing.
couch because he felt safe in the room with all of us and her. He came flying, literally lifted up off the couch and flew across the room and hit a wall.
Wow.
And died.
Whoa. Excuse me. Did you say he died?
He died. He hit the wall and he died.
I don't know why that's funny to me. I love dogs.
At the time,
I have 2
it's
dogs.
awful. I have dogs too, and at the time, it's awful to see that poor little creature die because I provoked something.
Do animals have spirits?
Yeah, that's a good question, yeah.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
So did the poodle know it died? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
Well, if I would have come back in about 6 months, I might have seen the poor little poodle. But I felt so bad for that woman because she saw her poor little dog get lifted up off the couch and thrown against the wall. And, I mean, he was thrown a good 20 foot. I mean, this room was a good 20-foot room in length. Wow. And he was thrown clear across this room and hit a wall.
I have a question. You just mentioned 6 months. Is there like a time frame in between death and...
Yeah, they need a time. They do need a time to get adjusted.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Usually, if they know they're going to die, somebody who's sick, then the time frame is usually a lot shorter. They do have to get used to being dead. They do have to get used to the feeling of not having that physical body. I think I told Jason and Bobby that the closest I've ever seen to a movie actually recreating that is the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze.
Get off my train.
That was the closest I've ever seen to a movie actually recreating how it is. Now, if they die suddenly, and they're not supposed to die, like they die in a car accident, it takes them a lot longer to get used to the fact that they're dead. They don't want to admit it for the longest time. Some of them go on for years not admitting. And that's when you get more of the, you say like the haunted house style haunting, where whatever it is doesn't want you there and tortures you and scratches and stuff like that.
So, are they normally attached to a place or a person?
I found most of it's attached to a person. Sometimes they can get attached to a thing, like
an object?
Like any kind of object. They can get attached to ground. So where, like, if you had a house that sat on the ground, say it burnt down or whatever, the person died, they're attached to that ground. They build a new house on it. Well, the house is brand new. Why should it be haunted? Well, the house is not haunted. The property's haunted.
Right.
You go to places like Gettysburg, Yorktown, places like that with the battlegrounds. It's not the buildings that are haunted. It's the ground that's haunted. And I don't care if you dig those people up and, put them in a cemetery. That ground's still being haunted, and that leads me to my second point. I'm sorry, but cemeteries are not haunted. I don't care what you do. Cemeteries are not haunted.
Yeah, we feel the same way.
Is it basically where you died, the place that you died, or is it a place that you're
died.
familiar with?
Right. It's the familiarity. They want to stay with what they're familiar with.
What if a person's a gravedigger and he was, he's familiar with the graveyard?
Maybe you'll get one. Now I have seen, like a spouse will pass on.
A what?
Did
you say a spouse?
Husband, yes,
okay.
Spouse. Husband will die. Wife will repeatedly go to his grave every, whatever, weekly or whatever she does. And then when she passes away and she goes and she's buried next to him, she doesn't want to leave because she thinks that's where he's at.
Yeah.
And it usually takes the family saying, okay, Mom, where are you at? Why don't you go on?
Well, let me ask you another question about, like, say, spirit photography. What is your opinion on orbs?
I think 90% of orbs caught on camera are actually dust.
Right.
I really,
Well, there's one thing I've never understood about orbs is that, you look back through time and they have all this awesome spirit photography and they're all of people, and then somehow the people have transformed to little circular lights. I don't understand. How
right.
This one has a smiley face. Okay. This one has a nucleus. Okay.
Yeah, I've seen the smiley face one, and that's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my life. But I don't think. And Grandma, I know. I'll give you. I watched Most Haunted on their last live thing at Gettysburg. And they had a camera in a room. And in this room was just a bed and then like a dressmaker's dummy with a dress on it that supposedly belonged to the lady of this house. And as you're watching this footage that they're showing you, you see this little thing of light go whipping around this dress. Well, then you see the dress's sleeves start to slowly, like, lift up until they were completely up in, like, a Heil Hitler kind of slant, you know? And they stayed there for the longest time. But you didn't see that little ball of light anymore. And you would have thought, well, if this spirit is in this little ball of light, why isn't this little ball of light still, you know, flying around this dress? And it makes me wonder, first of all, if most of their stuff isn't, like, recreated for visual purposes.
Right.
And I don't think orbs are just energy. And they may be just one particular part of energy of that spirit that spirit's allowing to come through. Because it takes a lot of energy for them to manifest themselves into a solid form that we can see.
So could it possibly be maybe you're catching it in a partial manifestation?
Right. Just maybe like at the very beginning. But that doesn't explain it whipping around like a lightning bug.
Well,
you know?
That also doesn't explain where the heck does the rest of the apparition go after the manifestation.
Right. So I don't put too much on orbs. I really don't. But I also am very particular about spirit photography too. It takes an awful lot for me to believe that some of it, you know, is an actual spirit, because it takes a lot. A living being does not realize how much energy it takes for them to manifest themselves to be a solid form.
Well,
for you to see.
If it takes so much, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if it takes so much energy for them to manifest, then why do they even waste the time?
Because they want you to know they're there. They're just like anybody else. They want attention.
All right.
You know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
And think about it. If you go into a house that hasn't been occupied for 20 years or so, and everybody thinks it's haunted, maybe it is, maybe something's in there, and you go in, it's going to stand its ground, because that's its place of residence, you know? So it's going to try to stand its ground as much as you would do your own home. And if this entity knows that they're gone, that they're dead, and one way they've got to maybe get you out of their house is to scare you by showing up, they're going to do all that they can, you know, to try to manifest themselves so that you can see them and you can take off running.
Right.
You know? So it takes so much energy for them to try to manifest themselves. That's why they're in love with things like the lights and the stereos and the television. But their best kind of energy to get them to manifest themselves is water, because water is a natural energy that they're more conducive with.
Okay, I've actually heard similar things to that effect. The question I have for you, again, sorry to change subjects. We all have, you know, different questions.
It's not every day we get a empathic medium.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, when you experience these, do you use the term spirits? Or what's your preferred nomenclature on that?
I like my term is souls, because that's what it is. That's what you're meeting. You're meeting their souls. You're not meeting. Some people say spirits. Some people say entities. And when I'm talking to somebody, I'll use the word spirits and entities because that's what they're most familiar with.
Right.
You know, but you're meeting up with a person's soul. Their body dies. Their soul is left.
So,
you know, the body is just an encasement for the soul.
When you see a soul, what we've been shown in the media is when someone, you know, they try to portray this, you know, it's like you're walking on the street and you see 5 people, you know, 4 of them are real people, and they, you know, different movies you see the 5th one's a ghost. Now, is that how you see them, or is it something you see this in their, they come to you in your mind's eye?
It depends. It just depends on how long they've been gone, as to how well they've trained themselves to be dead. I mean, it's like learning any other job. You got to train yourself. You know, sometimes they'll want me to see them. Some of them are comfortable with me seeing them, and some of them aren't, because a lot of them, you know, some people have died in a very tragic way. They're torn apart in a car accident or something. They don't want you seeing that.
Well,
you know,
where are they supposed to go? Everybody talks about, you know, you help them move on, but where are they moving on to?
That's why I don't help them move on. because I don't know that. Why should I help them move on to somewhere and maybe they don't, when they get there, they don't want to be there?
So, I mean,
you know what I mean?
Do you have
it's
any type of
that comes down to a religious thing?
Oh, okay. So maybe it's your own personal belief.
Right.
So,
now, personally, I believe in reincarnation.
Okay.
And I think they choose to reincarnate themselves at a later time.
You know, my only problem with reincarnation is that I've been told that with reincarnation is to be you're supposed to have learned a lesson. Well, if I can't remember my past life, then what lesson am I learning?
The way, and you're right, that's exactly what we believe, but it's a new lesson that you got to learn. Somewhere like this lifetime, you're not exactly rich per se. Maybe you're not even exactly comfortable. You live paycheck to paycheck. That could be because last lifetime you were very well off and didn't know exactly, you spent your money frivolously and didn't do anything meaningful with it.
Well, what about, say in my next life I'm miscarried. I mean, what lesson did I learn there?
Maybe that's not your lesson. Maybe that's
the mother's lesson.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mother's lesson.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just asking a question.
Well, see, now I've met a lot of women who have had babies. The babies die very young. But usually, at birth or soon after birth, but usually that baby is born and that soul has chosen to be born and to die that quickly to prepare the mother for something better.
All right.
To get her mindset right for something better. So, I had a friend whose mother lost a child when she was 2.5. She was very sick. She died of a respiratory ailment. He was born quite a few years later, probably about 10 years after that, after she died. And when he was born with that same respiratory ailment. But by the time he was born, his mother was in the mindset, okay, this is what I've got to do to keep him alive. The first time when she died, I didn't know what to do. I was very young. And I just wasn't mature enough to handle the responsibilities of a child that's sick. So when it came time for me to make medical decisions about her, I wasn't sure. But now he was born, she knew what to do, That baby's birth and death prepared her for, I think he was the third or fourth child, but the second child to be sick, he prepared her for his birth and for his childhood that was, spent in hospitals and stuff, getting himself healthy enough to be a child.
Yeah.
So that soul chose to come to this world, be born, suffer, and die so that mother could be prepared for that second child's illnesses and be able to raise that child into adulthood.
Okay, Monica, we actually want to give you a chance to, if you have a website or a way people can contact you, maybe set up a session or to invite you out for an investigation or a reading. Do you have a website or an email address that you'd like to give out?
Yeah, you can have my Yahoo account. That's anestheticwitch@yahoo.com. And if anybody wants to email me there, that's fine. It's checked every time. If you just got questions, because I understand a lot of people are very, very skeptical about all of this. I mean, there's some that are just very skeptical about ghost hunting in general.
Right.
But to have somebody come and say, okay, I see dead people, they're way, way skeptical about it until somebody proves it to them. So if they have any questions, anybody has any questions, it's fine. I also have a MySpace page, which is Anesthetic Witch, and I invite them on there if they want to come on there and message me with any questions they got. That's fine.
Well, thank you very much, Monica. We definitely appreciate your time.
Hey, Monica, why don't you hang on the line for a second while we go to break?
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Monica. And we'll be right back with more Strange Frequencies Radio on ParaX.com.
General, is your strike team assembled?
something very weak coming through.
Sir, this signal is not used by the alarm.
Welcome back to Strange Frequencies on Para X Radio.
All right, welcome back to Strange Frequencies. We're on live here with Archbishop James Long, the presiding Archbishop of the Old Catholic Church in the United States. James, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
We're all doing pretty good.
Good.
I guess the first question we'd like to ask you, you're the presiding Archbishop of the Old Catholic Church. What is the difference between the Old Catholic Church and the Roman Catholic Church, for instance?
Yeah, the Old Catholic Church actually branched away from the Roman Catholic Church in 1890s over papal infallibility. So there was a split within the church. Because many people believe that the Pope was not infallible. They didn't want to go back to having that much power for the papacy. And so with the Old Catholic Church, or otherwise known as the Independent Catholic Church, we celebrate all 7 sacraments. But we are different in that we ordain women. Our priests are allowed to marry. We are an all-inclusive church. We don't discriminate based on race, age, sexual orientation, gender. We're very inclusive.
Great. So you studied, if I'm not mistaken, the Roman Catholic priesthood for over 6 years.
I did.
Talk about getting the call to serve under the priesthood.
Well, I've known I wanted to be a priest since I was 5. I mean, I remember being at the church and pointing at the priest when we were at church and telling Mom, I want to do what he does. So I've known at a very early age that I wanted to be a priest. Didn't really know why.
Right.
I just knew that it was very strong, and so that's pretty much what happened. As the years went by, the desire just increased and never went away. It only increased as time went by.
See, that's excellent. I was actually raised Roman Catholic, and myself, I never actually felt the call to priesthood. But my parents and grandparents definitely tried to push me in that direction. They were very active in the church, and they thought that was something that I should do. But I never personally felt the call to becoming a priest. But yeah, I honestly think that's something that, as we can see now in America, that call is not something to reach as many people. It seems, because I know definitely as far as Roman Catholic priests are concerned, they're definitely not. There's a shortage.
Well, and the same thing goes for demonology. Demonology is a calling as well, and I tell people quite often, and I get a lot of, and I guess it goes with the territory. I get a lot of sometimes hate email, but when I say, if you don't have a calling to demonology, then stay away from it, because it is a spiritual issue, and when you're dealing with demonology, you're really dealing with a spiritual relationship that you have, obviously with God. And so it's not something that you do because you're bored one Sunday or because you saw it on television, you think, oh, isn't that interesting? So just as I tell about demonology, if it's not a calling, then people need to stay away from that.
Yeah.
Right.
You studied demonology, were mentored by Catholic exorcists. Why do you think there are so many, I guess, paranormal investigation groups out there that claim to be demonologists, but yet really seem to only study, they looked at a couple websites, maybe read a book, and they think they're demonologists. Why do you think that is?
I think it's just for some people it's fun, it's that high, it's that getting attention. But I also think that if they ever really ran across a case, and any demonologist who's trained in this field would tell you, Zaffis would tell you, and Kendall would tell you, and Calder would tell you that anybody who's been in this field and actually have seen some of this stuff, it's not playtime. And that I think all those people who find it that it would be it's a novelty thing to do would immediately quit.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I think it's because sometimes they see it on television, they think, oh, that sounds, that would be interesting, or that sounds fun, and they don't realize what it entails.
Right. I have a question about how do you feel about, for instance, I saw something on television about exorcisms, and this man claims that he's done about 2,500 exorcisms.
Yeah, I assume you're referring to Bob Larson.
Yeah, I didn't want to say any names.
Yeah, the thing is I don't think you should ever use exorcisms as a sensationalism story. I'm deeply concerned with the amount of people that he claims to be or possessed.
Right.
And so I just, he has his own personal opinion, I guess, and I hate to judge people because I've had my fair share of being judged, but I get very concerned when 2,500 exorcisms. That's pretty substantial. That's pretty substantial. Anybody can throw a Bible in someone's gut and make the person look like they're going to regurgitate, and all of a sudden now they're possessed. It takes more than that for possession.
Let me ask you this question: how do you prepare? I mean, what's usually the process that you go about when you investigate an exorcism? Like, if someone calls you and says, that maybe one of their family members, they think they may be possessed. Where do you go from there? What are the steps?
It's a lady demonologist involved, and then the lady demonologist will investigate the situation. They've been trained in demonology, and so they know what to look for. And when they get the information and they start doing the investigation, they basically come back with me or to me and say, okay, this is what we have, and this is what we're dealing with. And then based on that information is what really will determine what we do next. Whether it be, hey, look, I'm sorry, you don't have a possession or demonic infestation, or we will have to go a little further. So the investigations obviously is taken care of first, and then once the investigation is complete, all the information is sent back to me. It's pretty much by then we pretty much have an idea of what we're dealing with. When it gets to my level, there's pretty much a lot of things have already been ruled out.
I.e., mental disorders or just garden variety.
Absolutely.
Hauntings, maybe
mental,
even.
Yeah, mental disorder, hauntings, of course, debunking. When it's brought to my attention, or when it gets to my level, when I become involved, it's no longer you're not dealing with a debunking situation. You're not dealing with a mental issue. When I get involved, you're dealing with the demonic issue.
Now, have you ever had to, come on a case because somebody claimed they were a demonologist and just totally messed up somebody's house, not knowing what they were doing?
Sure, yeah, I've ran across a couple times. That's unfortunately that's happened, where someone claimed to be a demonologist and did some pretty stupid stuff, and only caused a lot more damage than good. So yes, I've come across that situation, and it seems like it's increasing, the number of people who are claiming to be demonologists, and even so exorcists, who have no formal training, who have no formation at all, no seminary formation. And furthermore, they're to say that their ordination would be questionable that's even scary as well. There are people who are receiving their degrees from online.
Yeah, in exorcism. Seriously, really, this happens?
Yes. Oh,
wow.
Yes. Yeah. You can go online now, and you can buy it for $60. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Sorry about that. My dogs are barking like crazy.
No problem.
Dogs need to come in too.
It usually always happens every time there's someone at the door here. But, oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you can go online now. You can purchase it for $60.
Interesting.
And you too can become a demonologist.
Wow. Well, it's not surprising since you can get a marriage license now over the internet. So.
Yeah, I mean, like the Universal Life Church offers ordination on demand.
Yeah, it's really concerning.
I can see that. Now? When you talked about people who call themselves demonologists who really have no idea what they're doing. The group we're in is called Phase 3 Paranormal, and we haven't had anybody, I guess, yet that claimed to be possessed by a demon. But with the rise in the Paravision, the different television shows, I'm assuming eventually we're probably going to get something like that. What would you recommend as the first thing that a group does if somebody contacts them and either claims to be possessed by a demon or they have a family member? What do you think is the first thing a paranormal group should do?
Don't get involved. That's the very first thing that I think that people should do. If someone is calling a paranormal group and say, look, here's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with possible possession or infestation. This is what's going on, and it sounds like a demonic issue. Then I tell groups, don't get involved in it. To me, it's why would you? Why would a group who doesn't know how to deal with demonic issues?
Right.
Why would they want to get involved in this?
Well, I think the answer to that would be that they would believe coming from a standpoint that they want to help someone.
Sure.
They would think that, hey, maybe we can help this person. Obviously they have no formal training, but they think they're coming from a point, I think, of doing good for someone.
Okay, well, in that case, then doing good for someone would be to refer them to the clergy,
right?
Who knows how to handle this, because what's going to happen is groups are going to go and investigate a home that's demonic infested or possession, and it's going to cause a great deal of problems.
Let's say a group's called in to, they think they're going to be doing a regular haunting, and what kind of signs would they run across if it's not actually, it's actually there's a demon presence involved?
The demonic is usually oppression, meaning that you get sick to your stomach, lightheaded, dizziness. There is sometimes attacks of scratching, and with human haunts can be scratching as well, but usually it's in threes. Scratching is threes. Three sets of three usually tends to be diabolical, multiple. Animals will become very aggressive, but will usually be very scared of what they're seeing or what they're sensing, and they'll usually move away. Foul odors will occur. Activity will increase during prayer. Usually desecration of religious objects. These heavy objects being thrown across the room. These type of things people shouldn't mess with. I mean, and the problem is once investigators who really don't know a whole lot about demonology get involved, you really open yourself up to receiving a lot more stuff than you really don't want to. And I tell people this all the time when they call me or email me, hey, look, I want to get into demonology. And my first response is don't. Only because I know the dangers that come with it. I know the oppression that comes with it. And people think this is make-believe, and that's fine, but I'm walking proof that it's not.
Right. Can you tell our listeners exactly what a demon is? I mean, how would you describe or characterize a demon?
A demonic entity, at least theologically speaking, is an angel, a fallen angel, that is doing the bidding of Satan. And so, what do they look like? They come in many different forms. I've seen demonic entities manifest themselves in many different ways. I've seen demonic entities manifest themselves in human apparitions. But what they are in their essence, they're evil. They're evil entities for the sole purpose of destroying humanity. And so you can't reason with a demonic entity. I've heard people say you can reason with them. You can't reason. It's like reasoning with a terrorist.
No talking about it.
It doesn't work. You don't reason with them. You don't bargain with them. They don't play fair. People say often, well, that's not fair. Why are they attacking this person? Why are they attacking that person? And I always tell them, you're thinking with a moral mind. A demonic entity is not thinking out of morality.
So, what is the purpose of a demon?
Destruction. For possession is for the person to commit suicide.
That's the ultimate goal, then.
That's the ultimate goal.
Okay.
And, I was raised Lutheran, and I was always told, somebody commits suicide, then they're going to go to hell.
That's stupid. And the reason is that's a stupid theology, quite honestly. I'm so tired of these pastors who are using Christianity as a form of control and scare tactic, just so they can increase their plate. Their tithing. To me, there's so many people that have used Christianity. They've abused it. They've used it as a scare tactic, and that's not what Christianity is about. If someone commits suicide, they're at the lowest form of depression. They are at the lowest form. They're not in the right state of mind. And an all-caring, all-loving, all-nurturing God would never turn one of his children away who were not in the right state of mind when they took their life. That's just stupid theology. It's just stupid. And I always say to somebody, do you have kids? And they'll say, yes. Do you love your kids? And I love my child more than anything in the world. You would do anything for your child, wouldn't you? Absolutely. So we have a God that has more love for you than you can possibly even fathom. more love for you than you could even think about the love that you have for your own child. And you're telling me that a God that has that much love is going to turn away one of his children who committed suicide because they're not in the right state of mind?
Exactly.
And they commit suicide? That's absurd.
Wow, that's exactly how I felt for quite a few years. Again, like I said, I was raised Roman Catholic, and you hear things. You hear people say things. I had a family member tell me that, there doesn't really matter how much love God has. Gay people would not get into heaven, and I'm like, I don't understand what you're saying, because if it's unconditional love, you're saying that a condition applies, but that's not unconditional. So I definitely understand what you're saying.
Well, and I'm going to even go a little further as far as gay people. I don't think homosexuality is a sin.
No.
Because for every person who can throw a scripture out on homosexuality, I could throw something right back.
Yes.
And as soon as I started educating people about Leviticus, well, there's a lot of things about Leviticus. So Leviticus had nothing to do with homosexuality. It had everything to do with owning the imagio of Yahweh, the image of God. It also says in Deuteronomy that if a woman commits adultery, the penalty is stoning to death. It also says you can't eat shrimp, you can't eat pork, you can't mix cottons. All these are part of the holiness code in Leviticus. So if people are going to start taking Leviticus and say, well, it says in Leviticus that homosexuals can't go to heaven, well, then I'm going to tell those conservative people who don't know Christianity, well, okay, don't eat shrimp, don't mix cottons, don't mix porks, you're unclean. And it says in Leviticus, unclean spirits won't go to heaven. Don't pick and choose.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't pick and choose your hatred.
Wow, that actually blows me away, because it's exactly what I've actually thought for years now. You really don't get that, I think, in some organized religions in Christianity. So,
well, the problem is Christianity in of itself is a religion of love and compassion. The problem is when man's ego gets involved, when man's judgment and racism and bigotry and hypocritical gets involved, then they bastardize Christianity, and then they make Christianity something that it's not supposed to be. In its very core, in its very fundamental essence, Christianity is about love and compassion and don't judge. That's it. And so anything else, you're just clouding it. You're putting all these rules and regulations. Those are all man-made rules.
I know the Bible makes points on the occult. Some people consider like ghost hunting part of the occult. I mean, I don't know how to word it. Where do you think the church stands, or where do you stand on ghost hunting?
I don't necessarily have a problem with ghost investigation. I really don't. I mean, the problem is when people start taking the Bible literally, as far as soothsayers. In that particular passage, they were talking about people who were using black magic, people who were committing fraud, people who were using some pretty evil things, doing some pretty evil things. It says in 1 Kings that there was a people who were claiming to be exorcists, and they went to someone who was possessed. And the demon says, Paul I know, Christ I know, but you I don't, and attacked the people who were claiming to be exorcists or frauds. And so this whole town all of a sudden threw up all their black magic books and all this other stuff. There's a big difference between performing black magic and helping a family who's dealing with a human haunting. I think people have to be careful when you're doing investigations, because you could come across something a little bit more sinister. And if that's the case, then you need some clergy help.
In your experience, I'm not sure how much you can speak to this, but what would you say is the ratio of human hauntings to actual demonic possessions? Would you say that maybe 70% are human hauntings and 30 the more severe demonic cases, or is that different?
Demonic possession is very rare,
okay.
Incredibly rare, and I would say less than 30%, 5% of the cases, if that. Demonic infestation seems to be increasing, but I wouldn't say it's even 10% of the cases that we do, because most of the times they can be debunked.
Okay. Actually, that leads me into another question, a big question I had. Of course, as the time goes on, the society progresses as we are. Do you think we're entering a time of increased demon activity?
People say that, and I don't know, and I'll tell you why. Because we don't have the numbers, we don't have the data the data to show what the numbers were prior to all this explosion of paranormal TV shows. So what's happening is that there's so many now paranormal groups that are out there because of the TV shows. Because, I mean, at first it we're starting 15, 20, and now all of a sudden there's 20,000. And my concern is I don't know if we're really seeing an increase in demonic issues because we really don't have the data to show that. For example, the incubus and succubus cases. People say, well, we're seeing an increase in those things. And I always say, well, how do you know that? Because you don't know what the data was prior to these TV shows. And so, therefore, what are you comparing that data to?
Speaking of these TV shows, one show comes to mind, and it's Paranormal State in their dead time.
Okay.
Is 3 a.m. supposed to be like, the mocking of the Trinity and or the mocking time of when Jesus Christ was crucified? Does that really have any relevance to demon activity?
It's not exactly at 3 a.m. Of course, and it really didn't start with Paranormal State. The exorcism of Emily Rose. I wish they hadn't mentioned that because theologically, actually, at 3 a.m., there's a lot of theologians that will debate that because the Jewish Passover was to begin at sundown. And there was a law in which people who were executed, especially on Golgotha, Skull Mountain, that the bodies had to be taken down prior to sundown. So the belief is that Christ was crucified on high noon, and his body was removed by 3 p.m. So there's some questions on whether or not that's exact science, and I really don't think it is. I think there's a witching hour, which is people talk about between 9 p.m. and 4 a.m., where apparently the activity does increase. But as far as at 3 a.m. on the exact, and that's one thing that when people always call me and they say, well, everything always happens at 3 a.m., well, that's a red flag for me. Because that person probably has been watching too much TV. Because not everything that's demonic happens at 3 a.m. So that's concerning, and that's a message I like to bring out to the groups is when people always are so fixated on this 3 a.m., you just have to kind of wonder, okay, now wait a minute, where are they getting this information? Right. Because for me, I start questioning the validity immediately when they start mentioning that.
Oh, we're even learning a lot here. We have a lot of questions for you. We want to take this opportunity to thank you for coming on and for helping us learn, helping other groups that can hear the show maybe learn something. You, as far as I understand, you recently published a book called Through the Eyes of an Exorcist.
Mm-hmm.
Could you talk a little bit about that? Talk about what it's about, what people will find inside.
Yeah, it's primarily people were asking if I would be willing to do just an educational book on the inhuman spirits, human spirits, poltergeists, and I thought about that. And I said, okay, it's fine. I'm not an author. I don't like writing books, and so it's not something that I really enjoy doing. I'm more of a speaker than I am a sit down and writer. There are some people that are very gifted in that. But what I really wanted to focus on was more of an education piece. Was how are we going to educate the people properly on demonic entities and human spirits, and give some people the tools that they need to really educate themselves. So if you have a phone call and says, look, I'm having this issue, well, you know this could, in fact, be demonic. And I always tell people, never act with a doubtful conscience because you may allow an evil to occur. And what that means is if someone tells you, look, I have all these issues going on, and you are thinking that it could be demonic, and yet you're wondering, should we investigate, should we not, you have a doubtful conscience. But if you do investigate, because you have a doubtful conscience, you could allow an evil to occur because it could be demonic. So I always tell people, never act with a doubtful conscience because you may allow an evil to occur. So just stay away from those type of cases and just get help.
That's very interesting. Where can people find your book? Where can they get it? How can they read it?
Yeah, if they go to I think the site is lulu.com, and you can just type in Bishop Long in the little search bar, and then that's it comes in a book version and a PDF version.
Oh wow! So it's free to read online.
Well, no, I think you have to download it or something. I don't know. I didn't mess with it because it was one of those things. Someone said, "Hey, look, can we do it?" And I said, "Sure." Knock yourself out. When it comes to technology, I like, I try to stay away from it as much as possible. Like you'd mentioned Paranormal State. I very rarely ever watch TV. Not because I'm being judgmental. There are other things I'd rather do.
Plus, there's nothing good on. So
yeah, I quite honestly, I wouldn't know the shows. I mean,
Right.
I know Ghost Adventures because I know Zach. I've known Zach for a while, but I don't know any other group or show that's on, or I would have no clue.
My big question for you is, you mentioned it. You should, if a group thinks that it is demonic, they should get help from the clergy or from a demonologist. Where should people go? I mean, besides contacting you, where's another safe place that we could, send someone, refer a family?
One thing that I would always do is that the family has to take responsibility as well. This idea that a group is going to be responsible for fixing all the problems is just, to me, is a little bit of an issue, because the family has to be very active in taking a stand and fixing this issue, because if there's a demonic infestation in the home, I want to know why. Because I can go in and perform the minor ritual of exorcism all day long. But if the family's practicing black magic or doing something stupid that they shouldn't do, I need to know this. So for me, I want to know what has caused this infestation issue. And then eventually later on down the line, you find out that they did a seance, or they did the Ouija board, or the black magic, or whatever it might have been. But I would always start with their minister. And if they say, well, we don't have one, well, that should be something you say, no, wait a minute. All right, let's look at this. And so I would always start with their minister, because they have to take responsibility too. I appreciate groups really wanting to help people. I applaud the groups wanting to help, but at the same time, I tell groups, you can only help so much. I could perform 1,000 exorcisms on a home, but if they continue to doing their stuff, performing some bad acts, then they're going to be constantly infested.
Right. You mentioned seances and Ouija boards. Now, are Ouija boards, like, where do you stand on Ouija boards? Is it intention, or are people really talking to spirits, or are they talking to demons? Like, what are the signs that people can that they'll receive to know that they're talking to a spirit or a demon?
Yeah, I don't like Ouija boards at all. And the problem is you can't filter out the good spirits from the evil spirits. You just can't. And anybody who says that they can, you know what? If they can, then copyright it and make millions and millions of dollars. Because there is no one that can filter out the evil from the good. They're just not. And so I always tell people, just stay away from those kind of things. Because once you start opening yourself, the problem is the Ouija board in of itself is nothing magical. The problem is the intention. You're using this for the sole purpose of making contact with the spiritual world in which you have no idea who you're making contact with. And so I tell people often, unless you can filter out the evil from the good, which we can't, stay away from it, because you never act with a doubtful conscience, because you may allow an evil to occur.
So how do you feel about EVP, I can't even talk today.
Electronic voice phenomena.
Electronic voice phenomena, sorry.
EVPs are okay as long as, and I tell people, as long as it's not interactive. So what happens is a lot of people will have EVPs and they can actually hear it live, and they can go back and forth and basically have a communication with whatever is talking to them. And I tell them that's really a bad idea. Because, you can't filter out from the evil from the good. And once you open that line of communication, once you begin to open yourself up, then you have the possibility of a demonic infestation. Demonic infestation is rare. But I tell people, just because it's rare, it does not mean it doesn't happen. So I would stay away from that kind of stuff. Stay away from any type of interacting with with spirits that you can't see or know their origins.
Now, how can a person protect themselves from demons? I mean, besides the obvious, not using, Ouija boards, not participating, in EVP sessions that, like you said, that are interactive. In general, I mean, besides trying to lead somewhat, chaste, good lives. How can you protect yourself?
Well, certainly when you're out if you're doing investigations, don't provoke. And going in with good intentions. The intentions have to be good. Paranormal investigators who have the intention, sole purpose of capturing film, capturing EVPs just to put it on the internet and sit back and look at the glory, and yet not help the homeowners, that's a very serious problem that I have. And I think that when people get into this field, they have to really look at their intentions. If their intentions become anything other than respectful, then they need to reevaluate why they're in the field. So you can protect yourself, obviously, by prayer. You can protect yourself by developing a stronger relationship with your God. With me, Eucharistic adoration, with liturgy, with the night prayer, morning prayer. I say I'm constantly in prayer, and you have to be. But at least for me, because that comforts me. And that develops my prayer life. It develops my relationship with God. But at the same time, I may have a very strong relationship with God. My ego is not going to be so big into believing that I'll never be tempted, or I could never be tempted, because even Christ was tempted. And I hear this a lot. Well, I walk in the light, so I have nothing to worry about. Well, that's ego. Christ walked in the light as well. Christ was light, and he was tempted as well. So when you hear that, well, I always walk in the light, I don't have to worry about anything, I get very nervous when people say that. It's nice to be confident in your faith, but it's not good to be to a level of egotistical.
What kind of are there any particular kind of, I guess, prayers or cleansing rituals people can use either before or after investigations to help them protect themselves at all?
Oh yeah, of course. I always like I do Our Father. I do the Our Father in Aramaic as well. But this is me. This is when I get involved in the case, I'm dealing with demonic, so it gets a little bit more involved. But prayer of St. Michael, a lot of people know that prayer, or Hail Mary. There's a prayer, there's guardian angel prayer. So there's many different forms of prayer that people can do, and I think as long as people's intentions are good, where they're going in, not provoking, not trying to make interactive contact with whatever spirit is there, just trying to figure out what's going on in that home so they can give the homeowner some type of peace of mind. I think those intentions are good, but at the same time, people are sometimes overextending themselves in going into cases where they really shouldn't, such as the darker cases.
Right. Now, you said when you go into a case, by the time it reaches you, a lot of things have already been ruled out. So when you go, can you sense that there's something wrong when you walk into a home where a possession might happen?
Yeah, usually by the time when I'm walking up to the home, I'm already feeling the oppressed state. But actually, before I even go to the home, a lot of times I'm feeling the oppressed state, sick to the stomach or nauseous or something of that nature. And then my aunt, who I love very much, she passed away at a very early age of cancer. When I know it's demonic, when I get involved, I will get this overwhelming, like a rose smell, because she loved roses. And she always smelled like roses, and so I know that she's there with me. But usually by the time I get involved in the case, I've already fasted, prayer, I've done confession, liturgy. I'm already starting to feel the signs of oppression.
Now, when you walk into this situation, have you ever walked into a situation where these demons know who you are? I mean, like you've dealt with them before, and they come back and they're again challenging you personally.
Well, the demonic entities will know who you are, and actually, demonic entities will know very private information about you, and that's why anybody who accompanies me to one of these exorcisms are required to go to confession, receive the Holy Eucharist, and the reason being is because what you do in the most private times of your life, the most private times, something that you're thoroughly embarrassed about, that you don't want anybody to know, it will be known. And so, because the demonic entity will actually say something out loud, and it will look directly at you, and whatever it is that you've done that you're embarrassed that no one else knows, it will actually mention it. And the reason being is it's a form of distraction, and it stops the ritual. It distracts you. It distracts the exorcist. It distracts everybody. It's a form of embarrassment. It's trying to break down your intellect, your will, humiliation. And so everybody has to participate in confession prior to going in.
Right. About how long does the whole exorcism take?
Yeah, that could take a couple hours to days.
So it's not just the raising of the hand saying cast out the demons and send you on your way.
Do you actually have to know the name? I mean, do you try to find the name of the demon in order to then send it, send it back basically to hell then, or?
Sure. And you have to know the name, and the reason being is because a name is a form of identity. So if you know the name, you also know what hierarchy it is. You know what type of demonic entity you're dealing with. You're knowing a lot of the history of the demonic entity. And so you have to really control. It's a form of control as well. Even when Moses said, who are you? And, the great I am. Well, the reason is when people want to, if you know the name of this entity, you know its very essence, then that's a form of control. And so it doesn't like to give up that type of form of control, and so often it will fight against you by giving you the real name. And so once you have that name, then you can continue on to the ritual.
Okay. And you're speaking about the hierarchy. I mean, I know, again, there are different choirs of angels, and they're all, and they all do different things, supposedly. So are you saying then basically the choir of angel has its opposites, different sects of demons?
Oh, there's no question. No question about that at all.
Now, are they the question is, I guess, are they polar opposites? I mean, do, the Malachim have, I believe that's what they're called, Malachim. Do they have a direct opposite who does the exact, does the exact opposite of what?
Yeah, angels are there to obviously assist us.
Right.
But they can't assist us unless we give them permission.
Okay.
And so, because it's free will. And so they abide by that free will, that gift that God gave us, free will. Demonic entities negate, the demonic entities forget about free will. They have no concern about free will, and they attack the person. So with angels is to assist and help us in developing a stronger relationship with God. Demonic entities are there to destroy our relationship with God. It makes us feel that we're all alone, that we have no one. It isolates us from our family, our support, from our religion, from our faith, everything.
What was the hardest case? I mean, was there ever a demon you were trying to exorcise that it was the hardest case you ever had? I mean, it just blew you away at the strength?
Oh yeah, sure. It was a diabolical exorcism, multiple demons, and that was a very violent. That was a very violent exorcism. It's one that I don't really talk a whole lot about because of the violence. I mean, the person actually bit their tongue off.
Okay.
And bit their lip off and try to gouge your eyes out. I mean, it's a pretty terrible case.
Understandable.
What I understand that you're affiliated with something called the Paranormal Clergy Institute.
Yeah, actually, I created that. I created the Paranormal Clergy Institute for the sole purpose of having groups, paranormal groups, to find help. So a lot of groups were saying, hey, look, we have this case here. We don't know how to deal with it. Now what do we do? And so I created the Paranormal Clergy as a resource for paranormal groups. So if you email me, if you have a case and you don't understand it, or you think it could be demonic, you tell me what's going on, and then we'll get back with you and say, hey, look, this is just what our interpretation is of it so far. And so it's just primarily there just to assist groups who need it, because there are several groups who are actually dealing with demonic cases that are genuine demonic cases who need assistance. And if we can, then one of the clergy members will actually travel to that area if we're able to.
Awesome. Earlier you said that demons can take on the form of a loved one. Are there any signs or something that somebody can look out for to know that it's not really a loved one?
Sure, yeah. Demonic entities can manifest themselves to a human apparition, but usually there's a flaw, and the flaw is usually in the eyes. You can't see the eyes. And even sometimes the hands. But it's usually the eyes. And also, demonic entities can mimic the voice of a loved one as well. But there's also a flaw there. And usually that flaw is there's multiple pitches in the tone. So like as I'm speaking now, I have one pitch. But if I record myself 3 different ways and I put them all together, you would have 3 different pitches. And so there would be a flaw there. And so it sounds like it, but it's like, there's something not right. And so that's why I tell people to be cautious about because they can mimic the human apparition, and they can mimic the voice, but there's usually always a flaw.
I was going to say, I had a similar, well, maybe you can tell me if it was a true case like that. Is I was waiting for the school bus when I was maybe 15, 16 years old, and a woman pulled up in the exact same type of car that my mother drove. She got out of the car. It looked exactly like my mother, even down to the type of clothes she would wear. And I said hello to her, but she didn't respond. She just kind of looked at me and just kept walked past. Again, when she came out of the store, I was trying to figure out why she wasn't, acknowledging my presence at all. And again, she got back into the car and just drove off. And like I said, same kind of car, it looked exactly like her, and it wasn't her. Is that, I guess that she didn't acknowledge me, is that a sign, for instance, that someone could look for, or?
Well, it could be. That's one sign, but it's also signs of oppression too. So you're getting an overwhelming sensation of sickness to the stomach, lightheadedness, just oppression of, okay, this is not good. I don't need to be here. I don't need to be in this area. I need to move away. So demonic entities, whereas a human spirit, if they usually will. When they come clear or close to you, you almost like get a tingling sensation, almost like a 9-volt battery. I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you before. When I was a kid, I did stupid things like put a 9-volt battery on my tongue.
I still do it.
And, I did it once, and I thought, oh, that's cool, and then I did it again. So that's a real problem there. And so, but that's more of a human apparition when they're walking past you or walking through you. The demonic entity is just the opposite. Demonic entity walks past you or walks through you. It's not that sensation of, wow, that was kind of electrical shock there. It was, okay, now I feel really sick. I think I'm gonna get physically sick.
A question I want to ask again, being raised Catholic, and you started out in this seminary, Roman Catholic seminary, and you worked with the Catholic exorcists. Can you speak to the Roman Catholic way of doing an exorcism? I mean, is that's not something that's done? The Roman Catholics don't do that a whole lot, do they?
What's that?
The actual exorcism. Because
the Roman Catholics under Benedict XVI actually recently just said that there needs to be an increase in this type of service to the people, because actually at one time people were finding themselves in the Roman Catholic Church, especially under Benedict, that it was kind of like a taboo subject, and a lot of priests weren't even willing to deal with it. And so Benedict said, "Hey, look, we need to take care of this problem." And so he's asked for the clergy to step up. And so we're seeing an increase in the number of priests who are now being trained in demonology, which I find really interesting.
Because I know when I was younger and I used to ask the priests in my parish about exorcisms, because I've of course always been interested in the paranormal. It was something that they quickly changed the subject or told me that's something I really don't need to know about. So,
and he probably told you that because there is a real serious element of danger dealing with this kind of stuff.
Oh, I mean, I understand that. I think it was just my curiosity.
Sure.
I want to know your personal opinion on, okay, say I were going to get a tattoo. I really wouldn't want to get a tattoo by somebody that didn't have any tattoos. So what about like a paranormal group that claim they have a demonologist who's never been in any type of demonic cases? What would your opinion on that be?
Well, if you're a demonologist, my first concern would be, okay, who you're a demonologist and by what church are you a demonologist with? Do you have a bishop who trained you? How many? You haven't been on any cases in your demonology. Demonology is much more than just reading books. That's not a demonologist. You can be a scholar in demonology, but that doesn't mean you're a demonologist. There's a big difference between actually getting out in the field and getting your hands dirty, and knowing the field, and claiming to be a demonologist. I wouldn't deal with those people.
Right, and
I just wouldn't.
Basically, the reason we're asking you these questions is we want to make sure that our listeners understand, that this is not something they should, mess with, and when the time comes, again, like you said, take responsibility, and two, then make sure you contact someone, not just, a paranormal group, but someone who actually has been trained to help.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of dangers to this. And people are going in kind of like sometimes with a nonchalant attitude. That's a very bad decision.
And I guess that brings me to a point that I was thinking of earlier, like groups like the Universal Life Church, who I think it looks like the scripture that they point to as Universal Life Church is a group that ordains people basically on by request, basically. Yep. You go to their website, you put through an email request, and they'll send you a certificate saying you're an ordained minister, and you can put the reverend in front of your name and everything. The piece of scripture they point to it looks like John 15:16, which says God has called you and ordained you. Is there any truth to that whatsoever? Or is that something that people should avoid?
Oh boy, you're gonna get me in trouble on this.
Uh-oh.
I get enough hate email as it is. Here's what I tell people. I'm not going to speak ill of someone. Let's say that I have a sister, and she is going to be married next month, and she wants me to marry her. And I'm not an ordained clergy, but the law says that I'm allowed to get quote-unquote ordained under one of these online things, and I can legally perform her marriage. I'm not going to judge somebody like that. But if a valid ordination, when someone is ordained, properly ordained, that needs to be a laying on hands. The Holy Spirit is one that's called upon to ordain someone to the priesthood or to the ministry. That should be a laying on hands. It's called apostolic succession. In other words, Peter laid hand upon this apostle, that apostle laid hands upon this apostle, and so on and so on and so on. I can show my apostolic succession all the way to Peter. Now that's important because Christ breathed the Holy Spirit upon the apostles and then told them to go out and cast out demons. Well, a lot of people think, it says in the scripture that anybody can cast out demons. Well, no, it doesn't. It says that the Holy Spirit is breathed upon you first, ordination, and then, basically, if you're called to that type of ministry, then you can work as one of God's instruments. But for me, are they taken seriously within the ministerial world? No.
Yeah,
because there's no seminary training. Seminary, you have to have academic formation, you have to have spiritual formation, and that's extensive. That's really extensive. There's a lot more to it than just pushing a button saying, now I'm ordained.
But I completely agree with you, and we don't want to get you into any more trouble, but...
I wish there was a button that says you can push a button, you can become skinny or something like that. It's with everything. It's with everything. You have to work for it. You have to work. If you want that doctorate degree in ministry, you have to work for it. You can't, do it the right thing. And so I had to fight with my demons too,
And on that note, Bishop Long, we just want to thank you for coming on the show. You've been a great source of information and knowledge to us. We hope people listening will also get something out of the show too. So we want to thank you for coming on tonight.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate that.
Is there a website that you would like to give out for people who can go get a little bit more information about you or your book?
Sure. They can go to, of course, the paranormalclergy.com website or the MySpace website, and that's myspace.com/Bishop Long. And then I have an I Am Haunted site. I think it's iamhaunted.com/Bishop Long as well. So it's Bishop Long on both I Am Haunted and MySpace.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
All right, too.
We'll be right back with more Strange Frequencies on Para X Radio.
Shots from my Glock till my clip stops, and even if I miss, I'll bet you'll all start the hip hop. So bring it on, kid. You must love the taste of pavement while you're in there taking shots like hepatitis patients.
Like warfare, yo, I stand and stare. I be Mr. Eli from the World's Fair. Jump out the atmosphere, now can you feel me? If I was a captain, you'll probably feel me.
They can deal with me now, but later it don't matter. Watch the brain splatter, cause it's all they could gather. I'd rather serve MCs the heads on platters. Blast fast and turn gangsta rappers to cadavers. But one thing I can't stand are these sugar-coated actors, thinking they hard, but y'all just candy rappers. So upgrade your skills and get your styles complete. And if you still try to bug, I just control or delete you.
I be swimming in sewage, I'm just that dirty. Most MCs be rhyming too wordy. This the program, shit, I make it happen. I be the reason MCs stop rapping.
Hey, yo, I'm coming out blasting, leave your crew gasping. Space age maskman, assassin. I'm laughing at opponents when they notice that I just turned the knob. Told them quit this cause they need a real job. So put the mics down, stop and hail Bob, or I'll convince you all home lies behind hail Bob. Some outsiders call me Pointy Boy Curtis, with flow so hot they burn like Johnny Caden churches.
Who's on the block? Me and Han Solo. And when the gear, the snorkel by Polo. Who's at Megatron? Brain slam, set it off. 88, break them off. 03, take it off.
Take a cloth and wipe your face cause you're bleeding. I'm treating MCs like kids who were beaten. Fire breathing heathen, speaking like a brick. Always end up poking enemies with a stick. Yeah, I'll get my suck from a sick butt, nothing more. She wants me in her pants like Inspector 34. I got women going bitch when I give them the bone, because I'm known for making more hormones than progesterone.
It's like a cakewalk when I take off, the butter flakes off, and the Betty Crocker bake-offs. $8 in Impala, playing D like dollars. Milligram in the club, tape to my collar.
Father time slows down enough for me to spit. Rapping at the speed of light, cause then it's hit or miss. Never call it quits, I'm gonna see it through. So go and hold your breath till your face turns blue. But you wanna roll with the true, knowing that you're fake, though you're fugazi as they come, like your last name was Brosco. So for the sake of the fake, pay homage to the great, because my skills are like Picasso in a world of finger paint.
The range rolls, strange mode, the plain clothes. And it's like you better do if you say so. Based on actual facts, the track moving. As long as Mr. E hits your head when you looping.
Recruiting soldiers of death, marching into battle. Your shit's creaking, I just broke your paddle. Get your case rattled, then I make you pay respect. Lay you down to rest with your head next to your neck.
Welcome back to Strange Frequencies on Para X Radio.
Pretty good show, I thought.
It was great.
We had, again...
former GH fan.
Former GH fan. We had the Anesthetic Witch, a empathic medium, and we had our...
Archbishop James Long.
Archbishop James Long, who we've been dying to talk to
for
a long time.
Wasn't that educational?
That was very educational.
So. I said, I would say he honestly brought back the
true essence of Christianity.
The true essence, yeah. It's not supposed to be about judging. It's not supposed to be about, hating each other.
Christianity is not scary.
It's, right, it's not supposed to be scary. So.
No, but is anyone else now freaking scared of demons?
Yeah.
Besides me?
I will stay away from demonology.
I asked him point blank, what do we do if we get a case where someone is claiming that they are either oppressed or possessed by a demon? And he said,
stay away.
Stay out of it. So
definitely will.
If we happen to get a case, hopefully we don't, honestly, but if we do happen to get contacted and someone is claiming that, or either for themselves or a family member, I'm going to follow the Archbishop's advice and turn them to their minister.
Well, the best thing that I remember about the interview is the one thing that stands out in my mind is he said, just because it's rare doesn't mean it can't happen.
Right. Exactly. Well, thank you very much for joining us next week. Strange Frequencies Radio at live.com. You can listen to us at para-x.com. That's Para-X Radio. Or you can go to MySpace, where you can download and stream the broadcast at myspace.com/Strange Frequencies Radio. For Jason, Bobby, and me, Matthew, keep tuned in to the frequency.